Michael Powell's heart races as the alien guard sees his arms, their grip unyielding. He stands before Queen Mina of the Shindy, her tall, blue-skinned form looming over him in the opulent throne room of Zendoria. The Queen's bioluminescent markings pulse with an otherworldly glow. Her eyes narrow as she issues a command that freezes the blood in Michael's veins. Remove your lower garments, human. Reveal what you conceal between your legs. The demand hangs in the air, heavy with implications. Michael's mind reels, desperately trying to process the situation. He's a seasoned diplomat, trained for unexpected scenarios, but nothing could have prepared him for this. The fate of Earth's petition for membership in the Galactic Alliance teeters on the edge of disaster. Your Majesty, Michael begins, his voice steady despite the turmoil within, I must respectfully decline. Our diplomatic protocols and personal dignity dash. Queen Mina's eyes flash dangerously. You dare refuse a direct order? Perhaps humans are not ready for the Galactic Alliance after all. The threat lands like a physical blow. Michael's mission, Earth's future among the stars, hangs by a thread. He takes a deep breath, realizing the cultural chasm he faces. The Shindy, with their lack of external genitalia, view human anatomy with suspicion and curiosity. Your Majesty, there's a misunderstanding, Michael explains, choosing his words carefully. Humans do not hide weapons in our clothing. Our anatomy is simply different from yours. The Queen's impatience grows visibly. She gestures to her guards, her voice sharp. Enough excuses. Disrobe him. Panic surges through Michael as the guards move to comply. He struggles against their grip, desperate to maintain his dignity, while avoiding any action that might be perceived as hostile. The situation spirals rapidly out of control, his refusal interpreted as defiance against the Shindy monarchy. Queen Mina rises from her throne, her voice cold with finality. This diplomatic mission is a failure. Deport the human immediately. As the guards drag Michael from the throne room, he fights to salvage the situation. Please, Your Majesty, we can resolve this misunderstanding. Earth's future depends on Dash. His pleas fall on deaf ears. The guards escort him roughly to a holding cell, leaving him alone with the weight of his failure. Michael sinks onto the cell's hard bench, his mind racing. He must find a way to bridge this cultural gap, to prove humanity's worth to the Shindy. Outside his cell, news of the failed meeting spreads like wildfire through Zendorian society. Debates rage about human nature and the potential risks of allowing Earth into their interstellar community. Queen Mina confers with her advisors, questioning whether humans are too unpredictable and dangerous to trust. As Michael contemplates his next move, he realizes the true challenge before him. It's not just about explaining human anatomy. It's about navigating the complex web of alien social norms and expectations he clearly doesn't fully understand. The fate of Earth's place among the stars now rests on his ability to turn this disaster into a triumph of diplomacy. Michael's head snapped up at the sound of footsteps approaching his cell. Hours had passed since his disastrous encounter with Queen Mina, each minute weighing heavily on his conscience. The guard who appeared before him was not one he recognized from earlier. A young female Shindy with vibrant, swirling patterns across her blue skin. "Human," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I am Zara. I wish to speak with you." Michael rose slowly, approaching the energy barrier that separated them. "I'm Michael Powell. What can I do for you, Zara?" Zara's bioluminescent markings pulsed with an intensity that betrayed her curiosity. "I've never met a human before. Your anatomy, it's true you hide it beneath layers of fabric?" A flicker of hope ignited in Michael's chest. Here was an opportunity to explain, to bridge the gap that had so disastrously widened in the throne room. "It's not about hiding," Michael began, choosing his words carefully. "Our external anatomy is different from yours. We cover ourselves for protection and cultural reasons, not concealment of weapons. Zara's markings flashed rapidly, processing this new information. Fascinating, and the Queen's demand to remove your garments was a misunderstanding, Michael finished. One I'd very much like to clear up if possible. Zara's eyes darted left and right, checking for other guards. Perhaps I could arrange something. A private audience with the Queen. Would you be willing to explain this to her directly? Michael's heart raced. This was exactly the opening he needed. Absolutely. I'll do whatever it takes to mend this rift between our peoples. With a nod, Zara deactivated the energy barrier. Follow me closely. We must move quietly. They slipped through shadowy corridors. Michael's soft-soled shoes a stark contrast to Zara's bare, padded feet. The young guard led him through a maze of hidden passages, their path illuminated only by the soft glow of Zara's bioluminescence. Finally, they emerged into a luxurious chamber. Queen Mina reclined on a plush divan, her eyes widening in shock at their sudden appearance. "What is the meaning of this?" she demanded, sitting up straight. Zara stepped forward, her markings pulsing rapidly. "Your Majesty, I beg your forgiveness. The human wishes to explain the misunderstanding from earlier. I believe it's worth hearing." Queen Mina's gaze shifted from Zara to Michael, her expression unreadable. "Speak quickly, human. My patience wears thin." Michael took a deep breath. "Your Majesty, I propose a demonstration. With your permission, I'll show you that humans do not conceal weapons in our lower garments. Our anatomy is simply different from yours." The Queen's eyes narrowed, but curiosity flickered in their depths. "Proceed, but know that any false move will be your last." With slow, deliberate movements, Michael partially disrobed. He kept his actions clinical and respectful, explaining each aspect of human anatomy as he revealed it. Queen Mina and Zara watched intently, their bioluminescent patterns swirling with fascination. As Michael redressed, the tension in the room had noticeably shifted. "Remarkable," Queen Mina murmured. "Your species is indeed different from ours. But tell me, why do you cover yourselves so?" This launched a deep discussion about human and Shindi biology, cultural norms, and the challenges of interspecies communication. Michael found himself engaged in the most frank and open dialogue he'd ever had with an alien species. As the conversation flowed, the atmosphere in the room relaxed. Queen Mina leaned forward, her earlier hostility replaced by genuine interest. "Your world sounds intriguing, Michael Powell. How can we bridge the gap between our peoples?" Seizing the moment, Michael proposed a cultural exchange program. Selected humans and Shindi could spend time on each other's planets. We could learn from each other, foster understanding and cooperation. Queen Mina's markings pulsed brightly. "An innovative suggestion. I believe it has merit." She turned to Zara. "Release the human from custody. Reinstate his diplomatic status immediately." Relief washed over Michael. He had salvaged a mission in a seemingly impossible way. As Zara led him from the chamber, he caught her lingering gaze, realizing the young guard's fascination had only deepened. "A grand ball will be held tomorrow evening," Queen Mina announced as they reached the door. "To celebrate this new understanding between humans and Shindi. You will attend as our honored guest, Michael Powell." As Zara escorted him to newly appointed luxurious quarters, Michael's mind raced with the possibilities that lay ahead. The ball would be an opportunity to meet influential Zendorians, to garner support for Earth's Galactic Alliance membership. He glanced at Zara, noting the way her markings pulsed when their eyes met. This unexpected turn of events had opened new diplomatic avenues, and perhaps personal ones as well. Tomorrow's ball promised to be the beginning of a new chapter in human-Shindi relations. The grand ballroom of the Zendorian palace glittered with an otherworldly splendor as Michael adjusted his Earth diplomatic uniform one final time. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the evening ahead. The events of the past day had been a whirlwind, transforming him from a prisoner to an honored guest in a matter of hours. A soft chime announced a visitor at his quarters. The door slid open to reveal Zara, her blue skin adorned with intricate, glowing patterns that seemed to dance in the low light. She wore a form-fitting ceremonial guard outfit that accentuated her alien physique, the fabric shimmering with each movement. "Are you prepared, Michael Powell?" Zara asked, her markings pulsing with what he now recognized as excitement. Michael nodded, offering a small smile. "As ready as I'll ever be. Thank you for everything, Zara. I wouldn't be here without your help." As they made their way through the winding corridors of the palace, Zara's curiosity bubbled to the surface. "Tell me, Michael, how do humans typically interact in social gatherings like this? Are there specific rituals or customs I should be aware of?" Michael chuckled softly. "Well, we don't have bioluminescent markings to communicate our feelings, so we rely a lot on verbal and nonverbal cues. Handshakes, smiles, maintaining eye contact. These are all important in human social interactions." Zara's markings pulsed rapidly, processing this information. "Fascinating. And what about courtship rituals? How do humans express attraction?" The question caught Michael off guard, and he felt a warmth creep into his cheeks. "That's, a bit more complicated. It can vary greatly between individuals and cultures. Generally, it involves spending time together, sharing experiences, and gradually building a connection." Zara nodded, her gaze lingering on Michael's face. The air between them seemed to crackle with an unspoken tension as they approached the grand doors of the ballroom. The doors swung open, revealing a scene of alien opulence. Zendorian nobles in shimmering attire mingled beneath floating orbs of bioluminescent light. At the far end of the room, Queen Mina sat upon an elevated throne, her regal presence commanding attention. As Michael and Zara entered, a hush fell over the crowd. Queen Mina rose, her voice carrying across the room. "Esteemed guests, I present to you Michael Powell of Earth, whose diplomatic status has been fully reinstated. Let this evening mark a new chapter in Shindi-human relations." Michael stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest. He bowed deeply to the Queen, then turned to address the gathered nobles. "Your Majesty, honored guests, I stand before you not just as a representative of Earth, but as a bridge between our two species. The misunderstandings of yesterday have opened the door to greater understanding today. Humanity and the Shindi have much to offer each other and the Galactic Alliance. Our differences are not obstacles, but opportunities for growth and mutual benefit." As he spoke, Michael could see the skepticism in some faces begin to soften. Murmurs of approval rippled through the crowd. When he finished, there was a moment of silence before applause broke out, led by Queen Mina herself. The formalities concluded, Michael found himself swept into the ebb and flow of alien social interaction. Zara remained close, whispering helpful insights about the nobles he encountered. Counselor Vextora has been hesitant about Earth's inclusion. "Emphasize our technological compatibility," she murmured as they approached a stern-looking Shindi with rapidly flashing markings. Throughout the evening, Michael navigated the complex web of Zendorian politics and culture. He discussed trade possibilities with a group of merchant caste Shindi, their markings pulsing with interest as he described Earth's unique resources. He engaged in a spirited debate about art and music with a collection of cultural ministers, finding common ground in the universal language of creative expression. As the night progressed, Queen Mina's voice rang out once more. "It is time for the Lumina Dance, a sacred tradition of our people. Let us welcome our human guest to participate." Michael froze, unprepared for this turn of events. He turned to Zara, panic evident in his eyes. "I don't know the steps," he whispered urgently. Zara's markings pulsed soothingly. "Follow my lead," she said, taking his hand and guiding him to the center of the ballroom. The music began, an otherworldly melody that seemed to resonate in Michael's very bones. Zara placed one hand on his shoulder, the other intertwining with his fingers. Their bodies moved close, and Michael could feel the subtle vibrations of her bioluminescent patterns against his skin. "Mirror my movements," Zara instructed softly, beginning to sway in time with the music. Michael did his best to follow, his initial awkwardness giving way to a fluid synchronicity. The dance was unlike anything he had experienced on Earth, a mesmerizing blend of rhythmic movement and pulsing light. As they twirled and stepped in harmony, Michael found himself lost in the moment, acutely aware of Zara's proximity and the intensity of her gaze. Zara's markings began to pulse in a new pattern, one that Michael hadn't seen before. It was vibrant and complex, drawing gasps and murmurs from the Shindi around them. Michael noticed other Zendorians exchanging knowing glances, but he remained focused on Zara, captivated by the dance and the connection growing between them. As the final notes of the music faded, Michael and Zara stood breathless, their faces inches apart. The moment was shattered by a commotion at the entrance of the ballroom. A hulking, reptilian figure burst through the doors, its scales gleaming in the bioluminescent light. "I object to this farce," the creature roared, its voice guttural and filled with contempt. "Humans have no place in the Galactic Alliance." Queen Mina rose from her throne, her voice sharp with authority. "Castor of the Vroktar, you were not invited to this gathering. Explain yourself immediately." Castor stomped forward, his reptilian eyes fixed on Michael. "I come to challenge this human's right to be here. How can we trust a species so primitive, so prone to violence?" The ballroom erupted in murmurs and flashing markings as the Zendorian nobles reacted to this sudden turn of events. Michael stepped forward, ready to defend humanity's honor. But before he could speak, Zara's voice rang out. "You speak of violence, Castor, yet you barge in here uninvited, disrupting a peaceful gathering," Zara declared, her markings pulsing with intensity. "I have observed Michael Powell firsthand. He has shown nothing but respect, diplomacy, and a genuine desire for understanding." Castor's scales bristled with rage. Pretty words from a naive guard. "If humans are so worthy, let this one prove it. I challenge you, Michael Powell, to a physical contest. Let us see if your species has the strength to stand among the stars." The ballroom fell silent, all eyes turning to Michael. Queen Mina's gaze was calculating as she spoke. "Perhaps this is an opportunity to witness human capabilities firsthand. Michael Powell, do you accept this challenge?" Michael's mind raced. He knew the stakes of this moment extended far beyond his own pride. The future of Earth's place in the Galactic Alliance hung in the balance. He straightened his posture, meeting Castor's reptilian glare. "I accept your challenge, Castor of the Vroktar," Michael declared, his voice steady and resolute. As the Zendorian nobles buzzed with excitement, Zara leaned close to Michael. "This contest is more than a test of strength," she whispered urgently. "It's a demonstration of humanity's adaptability, ingenuity, and spirit. The outcome will shape our people's perception of Earth for generations to come." Michael nodded, understanding the weight of the moment. As Zara led him to a cleared area of the ballroom, specially prepared for the impending contest, he felt the eyes of every Zendorian upon him. The atmosphere crackled with tension and anticipation. Castor stomped to the center of the clearing, his muscled frame dwarfing Michael. The human diplomat took a deep breath, centering himself. He knew he couldn't match the alien's raw strength, but perhaps human ingenuity and adaptability would prove to be the decisive factor. Queen Mina's voice cut through the tension. "The challenge is set. Let the contest begin." "Begin," Queen Mina announced, her voice resonating through the now-hushed ballroom. Michael and Castor were promptly escorted to an adjacent arena, specially prepared for the contest. The gathered Shindi nobles followed, their markings pulsing with anticipation. As they entered the arena, Michael's eyes widened at the sight of three distinct areas, each clearly designed for a different trial. Queen Mina addressed the assembled crowd. The challenge will consist of 3 trials: strength, agility, and intelligence. These will test the full spectrum of abilities we value in the Galactic Alliance. Michael's heart raced as he took in the first trial area, where massive Zendorian crystals of varying sizes were arranged. He glanced at Castor, whose reptilian muscles rippled beneath his scales, and swallowed hard. "The strength trial begins now," Queen Mina declared. Castor strode confidently to the largest crystal, a behemoth that seemed to glow with an inner light. With a grunt, he hoisted it above his head, his arms barely shaking under the immense weight. The Shindi nobles murmured, impressed by the display. Michael approached a medium-sized crystal, acutely aware of every eye upon him. He wrapped his arms around it, took a deep breath, and lifted. The crystal's weight was staggering, far denser than it appeared. Michael's muscles strained as he slowly raised it to chest height, his face reddening with effort. He held it there, seconds ticking by like hours, his arms trembling. Just as his strength began to fail, he heard Zara's voice cut through the silence. "You can do it, Michael." Her encouragement gave him a final surge of energy. With a monumental effort, he raised the crystal above his head, holding it there for a brief moment before carefully lowering it back to the ground. Whispers rippled through the crowd. While Castor's display had been more impressive, Michael's persistence had clearly made an impact. He caught sight of several Shindi nobles nodding approvingly, their markings pulsing with what he hoped was admiration. "The agility trial will commence," Queen Mina announced, gesturing to a complex obstacle course that seemed to defy gravity itself. Castor went first, his powerful legs propelling him through the course. However, his bulky frame proved to be a hindrance as he struggled to navigate the tighter sections. He finished the course, but not without several clumsy moments that elicited murmurs from the crowd. Michael stepped up to the starting line, his mind racing as he analyzed the course. As he began, he relied on his smaller size and flexibility to his advantage. He ducked, rolled, and twisted through the obstacles with a grace that seemed to surprise the Shindi audience. At one point, he encountered a particularly challenging section that required him to traverse a narrow beam while avoiding swinging pendulums. Michael paused, quickly assessing the pattern of the swings. He timed his movements carefully, using quick, precise steps to navigate the beam while narrowly avoiding each pendulum. As he crossed the finish line, significantly faster than Castor, the arena erupted in excited chatter. Michael caught Zara's eye, her markings pulsing brightly with what he now recognized as pride. Queen Mina's voice cut through the commotion. "The final trial will test intelligence and strategy." A holographic projection materialized in the center of the arena, displaying a complex, three-dimensional game board. Michael and Castor took their positions on opposite sides. As the game began, Michael drew upon his diplomatic training, approaching the challenge as he would a delicate negotiation. He carefully considered each move, anticipating Castor's responses and planning several steps ahead. Castor, clearly more accustomed to physical confrontations, grew increasingly frustrated as Michael outmaneuvered him at every turn. The Shindi audience watched in rapt attention as the human diplomat slowly but surely gained the upper hand. With a final, decisive move, Michael secured his victory. The holographic board flashed, signaling the end of the game and the contest as a whole. For a moment, silence reigned in the arena. Then, as if a dam had broken, the Shindi erupted in cheers. Michael stood, somewhat dazed by the sudden outpouring of approval. Castor's reptilian features contorted in rage. "Impossible," he roared. "The human must have cheated." Before anyone could react, Castor lunged at Michael, his clawed hands outstretched. Michael stumbled backward, bracing for impact, but it never came. In a blur of motion, Zara intercepted Castor. Her guard training was evident as she swiftly subdued the much larger alien, pinning him to the ground with a series of precise moves. The arena fell silent once more, all eyes on the scene before them. Queen Mina stepped forward, her expression a mixture of anger and disappointment as she gazed down at Castor. "Your behavior is unbecoming of a member of the Galactic Alliance," she said, her voice cold. "You will be escorted from Zendoria immediately." As Castor was led away by a contingent of guards, Queen Mina turned to address the gathered nobles and Michael. "Michael Powell of Earth has proven himself worthy in every aspect of this challenge," she declared. "His strength of will, his agility of both body and mind, and his strategic intellect have all been demonstrated admirably." Her markings pulsed with a regal intensity as she continued. "I hereby announce my full support for Earth's petition to join the Galactic Alliance. Let this contest stand as testament to the potential of humanity and the bright future of cooperation between our peoples." The arena erupted in applause once more. Michael felt a wave of relief wash over him, the weight of his diplomatic mission finally lifting from his shoulders. As the excitement began to die down, Michael became aware of a shift in the atmosphere. The Shindi nearest to him and Zara had fallen silent, their attention fixed on something behind him. Michael turned to find Zara standing close, her markings pulsing in a pattern he had never seen before. The light seemed to dance across her skin in complex, mesmerizing waves. Several older Shindi gasped, whispering among themselves with a mixture of awe and excitement. Queen Mina approached, a knowing smile playing on her lips. "It seems, Michael Powell, that your victory today has sparked more than just diplomatic progress." Michael looked between the Queen and Zara, confusion evident on his face. I don't understand," he admitted. Queen Mina's markings pulsed with amusement. "What you're witnessing is an extremely rare phenomenon among our people. It's called the luminous bonding." She went on to explain the significance of the event, how it indicated a deep, instantaneous connection between two beings. As Michael listened, he felt a mix of emotions, surprise, curiosity, and an undeniable warmth as he glanced at Zara. "This is a momentous occasion," Queen Mina declared to the gathered crowd. "One that calls for a celebration befitting its importance. Tomorrow, we shall hold a traditional Shindi bonding ceremony to honor this connection between Michael Powell and Zara." Michael's eyes widened at the announcement, his heart pounding from the implications. Queen Mina leaned in close, her voice low. "This ceremony will serve as a powerful symbol of the union between Earth and Zendoria. I trust you understand the diplomatic significance of this development?" He nodded slowly, acutely aware of the weight of the moment. As he met Zara's gaze, her markings still pulsing with that mesmerizing pattern, Michael realized that his mission had taken an unexpected and deeply personal turn. As the Shindi nobles buzzed with excitement around them, Michael found himself being ushered away by a group of cultural advisors, eager to begin his crash course in Shindi bonding rituals. He cast one last look over his shoulder at Zara, who was being led in the opposite direction for her own preparations. The events of the day swirled in Michael's mind, from prisoner to honored guest, from diplomatic representative to participant in an alien bonding ceremony. As he followed his guides deeper into the palace, he couldn't help but wonder what other surprises awaited him on this alien world, and how this unexpected turn of events would shape the future of human-Shindi relations. Michael's head spun as he tried to absorb the whirlwind of information from his crash course in Shindi bonding rituals. The cultural advisors had spent hours explaining the intricate details of the ceremony, but he still felt woefully unprepared. As the first rays of Zendoria's twin suns peeked over the horizon, Michael found himself being led through the winding corridors of the palace. His escort, a group of male Shindi elders, moved with purpose, their markings pulsing with a solemn rhythm. They emerged into the crisp morning air, and Michael's breath caught in his throat. Before them stood an ancient temple, its spires reaching towards the sky like crystalline fingers. The entire structure seemed alive, pulsing with a soft, bioluminescent glow that ebbed and flowed like a heartbeat. As they approached, Michael noticed the gathering crowd. Beings of all shapes and sizes, representing various alien races, filled the temple grounds. Their excited chatter created a low hum that reverberated through the air. One of the elders turned to Michael, his eyes filled with a mixture of reverence and excitement. "It is time, Michael Powell of Earth. You will now don the ceremonial robes." Michael was led to a small antechamber, where the robes awaited him. As he slipped them on, he felt a strange, tingling sensation across his skin. The fabric seemed to pulse in sync with his own heartbeat, and he realized with a start that the robes were designed to amplify his body's electrical impulses. Fully dressed, Michael was escorted into the main chamber of the temple. The crowd fell silent as he entered, all eyes turning to watch his progress. At the far end of the room, on a raised platform, stood Zara. Michael's breath caught in his throat. Zara was resplendent in her ceremonial attire, her bioluminescent markings glowing with an intensity he had never seen before. The light danced across her skin in mesmerizing patterns, and for a moment, Michael forgot about the crowd, the ceremony, and everything else. Between them stood Queen Mina, her regal bearing commanding the attention of all present. As Michael approached the platform, she raised her hands, signaling the start of the ceremony. "Today," Queen Mina's voice rang out, "we witness a union that transcends the boundaries of our world. Michael Powell of Earth and Zara of Zendoria will join in the sacred bond, a symbol of the unity between our peoples." She turned to Michael, her eyes intense. The bonding ceremony requires a physical and energetic merging of the participants. You and Zara must synchronize your bioelectrical fields, a process typically impossible for non-Shindi. However, the rare luminous bonding phenomenon has made you uniquely compatible. Michael swallowed hard, his heart racing as he stepped forward to face Zara. Their eyes met, and he saw his own mix of nervousness and excitement mirrored in her gaze. "Let the ceremony commence," Queen Mina intoned. With a deep breath, Michael raised his hands, palms facing outward. Zara did the same, and as their palms touched, Michael felt a jolt of energy course through his body. Gasps erupted from the crowd as Michael's skin began to glow faintly, mimicking Shindi bioluminescence. The energy flowing between them intensified, and suddenly, Michael's mind was flooded with vivid images. He saw flashes of Zara's childhood, felt the exhilaration of her first flight in a Shindi spacecraft, experienced the pride she felt when joining the Royal Guard. Alongside these memories, he sensed her emotions, her initial skepticism towards humans, her growing respect for Michael, and the confusing but powerful feelings that had blossomed between them. As the energy exchange reached its peak, the temple suddenly erupted into chaos. Alarms blared, their harsh sound shattering the sacred atmosphere. Security forces burst into the chamber, their markings pulsing with urgency. "Your Majesty," one of them shouted, rushing to Queen Mina's side. "A Vroktar battle fleet has entered Zendorian space. They're demanding we surrender the human, or they'll attack." The crowd erupted into panic murmurs. Queen Mina's face hardened as she quickly assessed the situation. With visible reluctance, she turned to Michael. "I'm sorry, but we must halt the ceremony. Michael Powell, for your safety, you must be taken to a secure bunker immediately." As guards moved to escort Michael away, Zara's grip on his hands tightened. A jolt of pain shot through both of them as they began to separate, and Michael realized with a start that he could sense Zara's thoughts. "We can't separate," Zara's voice echoed in his mind. "The bonding process. It's not complete. It could harm us both." Without warning, Zara pulled Michael close and whispered in his ear, "Trust me." In a fluid motion, She spun away from the guards, still gripping Michael's hand tightly. Before anyone could react, Zara had pulled him through a hidden panel in the temple wall. They found themselves in a narrow, dimly lit passageway. Zara led the way, her markings providing just enough light to navigate by. "Where are we going?" Michael asked, his voice echoing in the confined space. "These passages are known only to the royal guards," Zara explained as they ran. "They lead deep beneath the capital. We'll be safe there while we figure out what to do." As they descended deeper into the tunnels, the ground shook violently. Dust and small debris rained down on them. "The Vraktar," Michael realized. "They've started their attack." Zara nodded grimly. "We need to find a way to stop them. The fate of Zendoria depends on it." As they rounded a corner, they came upon a sealed door. Ancient Shindi symbols glowed faintly on its surface. Zara placed her hand on a panel beside the door, and it slid open with a hiss. They stepped into a vast chamber filled with strange, pulsing machinery. Holographic displays flickered to life around them, showing schematics and data streams that Michael couldn't begin to comprehend. "What is this place?" he asked, his voice filled with awe. Zara's eyes widened as she scanned the room. It's an ancient research facility. I've heard stories, but I never thought." Her voice trailed off as she approached one of the displays. Michael moved to join her, and together they stared at the image before them. It showed a massive weapon, unlike anything either of them had ever seen. "This weapon," Zara breathed, her markings pulsing with excitement. "It's said to be capable of repelling large-scale invasions. But it requires the combined bioenergy of a bonded Shindi pair to activate." They looked at each other, the realization dawning on them simultaneously. Their partially completed bond might be the key to saving Zendoria. "We have to try," Michael said, his voice firm despite the fear coursing through him. Zara nodded, her expression a mix of willpower and apprehension. "But Michael, you have to understand. Completing the bond without proper preparation, without guidance, it could change us permanently." Another violent tremor shook the facility, reminding them of the battle raging above. The choice before them was clear: risk everything to save Zendoria, or search for another solution as the planet burned. Michael took Zara's hands in his, feeling the energy pulse between them. "Whatever happens," he said, "we face it together." As they stood there, on the precipice of a decision that would alter not just their lives, but the fate of two worlds, the ancient machinery around them hummed to life, as if sensing the power of their potential bond. As they stood before the ancient machinery, Michael and Zara exchanged a determined look. The decision was made. With the fate of Zendoria hanging in the balance, they knew they had to act. "Let's do this," Michael said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Zara nodded, her markings pulsing with a mix of anticipation and nervousness. She guided Michael to a circular platform at the center of the chamber, positioning them face to face. "We need to complete the bond," she explained, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's the only way to activate the weapon." Michael took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. He raised his hands, palms facing outward, mirroring the stance from the interrupted ceremony. Zara did the same, and as their palms touched, the familiar jolt of energy surged through them. This time, however, the sensation was far more intense. The incomplete bond from earlier acted as a catalyst, accelerating the process. Brilliant light erupted from their joined hands, bathing the chamber in a radiant glow. Michael gasped as he felt his consciousness expanding, merging with Zara's in a way that defied description. Memories, thoughts, and emotions flowed between them like a rushing river. He saw flashes of Zara's life, her first flight, her training as a royal guard, her growing feelings for him, all intermingling with his own experiences. As their minds melded, their bodies began to change. Michael watched in amazement as faint, glowing patterns appeared on his skin, reminiscent of Shindy bioluminescence. At the same time, Zara's markings shifted, taking on subtle characteristics that seemed almost human. The transformation was accompanied by a surge of new sensations. Michael could suddenly feel the electrical impulses flowing through the air around them, while Zara experienced a newfound strength coursing through her muscles. As the bonding neared completion, the ancient machinery in the chamber hummed to life. Holographic displays flickered and pulsed, responding to the energy emanating from the joined couple. With their bond now fully formed, Michael and Zara turned their attention to the weapon. They approached a large, crystalline console, their movements perfectly synchronized. As if guided by an unseen force, they placed their hands on the smooth surface. The response was immediate and overwhelming. A massive surge of energy coursed through their joined bodies, channeling into the ancient device. The sensation was both exhilarating and painful, like a million pinpricks of electricity dancing across their skin. The chamber shook violently as the weapon activated. A low, resonant hum filled the air, growing in intensity until it was almost deafening. Through their shared consciousness, Michael and Zara could sense the immense power building beneath them. Suddenly, a colossal beam of energy erupted from the ground above, piercing the sky and spreading across Endoria's atmosphere. The pulse expanded rapidly, engulfing the entire planet in a shimmering, translucent field. In orbit, the Vroktar fleet found themselves caught in the energy wave. Ship after ship lost power, their weapons and propulsion systems rendered useless. Panic spread through the invading force as they realized their attack had been thwarted. On the bridge of his flagship, Castor snarled in frustration. "Impossible!" he roared, banging his head against a control panel. As alarms blared around him, he made a desperate decision. "Prepare my escape pod." But even as Castor attempted to flee, Zendorian Defense Forces, emboldened by the miraculous turn of events, moved to intercept. His escape pod was quickly surrounded and captured, the once fearsome warlord now reduced to a prisoner. Back in the underground chamber, Michael and Zara collapsed to their knees, exhausted from the immense energy expenditure. They clung to each other, their bodies still adjusting to the profound changes they had undergone. "We did it," Michael breathed, his newly luminescent skin pulsing in sync with his racing heart. Zara nodded, a mix of relief and wonder in her eyes. "Yes, we did, but I think we've changed more than just the outcome of this battle." As if in response to her words, the ground above them shook once more. This time, however, it was not from weapon fire but from the sound of heavy machinery. The ceiling of the chamber began to retract, revealing a lift platform. Squinting against the sudden influx of light, Michael and Zara rose to their feet. As the platform ascended, carrying them back to the surface, they braced themselves for whatever awaited them in this new chapter of their lives. The lift emerged into the heart of the capital city, where a crowd had gathered. At the forefront stood Queen Mina, flanked by Shindy officials and security forces. As Michael and Zara stepped off the platform, a collective gasp rippled through the assembly. Queen Mina's eyes widened as she took in their transformed appearance. "By the ancestors," she whispered, her markings pulsing with a mix of awe and confusion. "What has happened to you?" Before Michael or Zara could respond, a cheer erupted from the crowd. News of the Vroktar's defeat had spread quickly, and the people of Zendoria were eager to celebrate their saviors. Queen Mina raised her hand, silencing the crowd. She approached Michael and Zara, her gaze intense as she studied their altered forms. "It seems," she said, her voice carrying across the square, "that we have witnessed a miracle today. Not only have you saved Zendoria from certain destruction, but you have also demonstrated the incredible potential of human-Shindy cooperation." She turned to address the gathered officials. "Let it be known that from this day forward, Earth's petition to join the Galactic Alliance is approved. Michael Powell and Zara stand before us as living proof of the benefits of interspecies collaboration. As the crowd erupted in cheers once more, Michael and Zara exchanged a glance. Through their newfound bond, they could sense each other's mix of emotions: relief at their victory, wonder at their transformation, and uncertainty about what the future might hold. Their moment of reflection was cut short as a group of Shindi scientists approached, their markings pulsing with terrifying excitement. "Forgive the intrusion," one of them said, bowing slightly, "but we must insist on conducting some preliminary examinations. The implications of your bonding could be revolutionary." Before Michael could reply, a human voice cut through the crowd. "Hold it right there." A group of Earth officials pushed their way forward, led by a stern-faced woman Michael recognized as the head of diplomatic relations. "Mr. Powell," she said, her tone a mix of awe and apprehension, "we've only just re-established communication. We need you to return to Earth immediately for debriefing and a full medical examination." Michael felt a surge of reluctance course through him, amplified by Zara's sudden spike of anxiety. The thought of leaving her, of being separated so soon after their bonding, was almost physically painful. As tensions began to rise between the human and Shindi officials, each eager to claim the newly bonded couple for their own purposes, a commotion arose from the far side of the square. A group of Shindi security forces appeared, escorting a bound and furious Castor. Queen Mina's expression hardened as she laid eyes on the captured warlord. "Take him to the high-security detention center," she ordered. "We'll deal with him later." As Castor was led away, shouting threats and promises of retribution, Michael and Zara found themselves at the center of a rapidly forming storm of political and scientific interest. Diplomats from various alien races were already arriving, drawn by the news of the extraordinary events on Zendoria. Michael met Zara's gaze, feeling the strength of their bond. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. But for now, they had to navigate the immediate chaos surrounding them, balancing the demands of their respective species with their own need to understand the profound changes they had undergone. The square buzzed with activity as officials argued, scientists theorized, and the people of Zendoria celebrated. In the midst of it all, Michael and Zara stood hand in hand, their transformed bodies a testament to the unprecedented union of human and Shindi. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same again. As the crowd in the square continued to swell, the air thick with excitement and tension, Michael and Zara found themselves at the center of a growing storm. The once clear lines between human and Shindi interests began to blur, much like the new patterns on their skin. Queen Mina, recognizing the need for immediate action, raised her voice above the din. "We must move this discussion to a more suitable location. Michael, Zara, please accompany me to the palace. We have much to discuss." As they made their way through the throng, Michael felt a familiar presence approaching. He turned to see Dr. Elena Summers, Earth's leading xenobiologist, pushing her way through the crowd. Her eyes widened as she took in the sight of Michael's transformed appearance. "Mr. Powell," she called out, her voice a mix of awe and professional curiosity, "we need to begin examinations immediately. The implications of your transformation are dash." Queen Mina cut her off with a firm but diplomatic tone. "Dr. Summers, I presume? Your expertise is welcome, but now is not the time. Please join us at the palace. We have much to discuss." The group made their way to the royal palace, a towering structure of crystalline spires and bioluminescent gardens. As they entered the Grand Council chamber, Michael and Zara exchanged a glance, their newly formed bond allowing them to sense each other's apprehension. Queen Mina took her place at the head of a large, oval table. "Please be seated," she said, gesturing to the assembled group of human and Shindi officials. As they settled into their seats, the Queen's expression grew serious. "What has happened today will change the course of our two species forever. We must proceed with caution, but also with an open mind to the possibilities this presents. Dr. Summers leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with scarcely controlled excitement. Your Majesty, if I may, the potential applications of this bonding process are staggering. We must begin a thorough study immediately. Before the Queen could respond, a commotion erupted outside the chamber. The doors burst open, revealing a group of Shindi, their markings pulsing with agitation. At their head stood a tall, imposing figure with intricate patterns swirling across his skin. Your Majesty, he boomed, his voice resonating through the chamber. I am Vexio, Speaker for the Shindi Purity Coalition. We demand that this human abomination be removed from our planet at once. The room erupted into chaos as Shindi and human officials began shouting over one another. Michael felt a surge of anger course through him, amplified by Zara's indignation flowing through their bond. Queen Mina's voice cut through the din like a laser. Silence! The room fell quiet, all eyes turning to her. Vexoar, your concerns are noted, but this is neither the time nor the place for such outbursts. Vexoar's markings flashed defiantly. Then when, Your Majesty, when our species has been irrevocably tainted by human influence. The Queen's eyes narrowed. Enough. Guards, escort Vexioar and his followers out. We will address their concerns through proper channels. As the protesting Shindi were led away, Queen Mina turned back to the assembled group. It's clear that we need to demonstrate the benefits of this bonding to our people. Dr. Summers, you spoke of studying the process. I propose we take it a step further. She paused, her gaze sweeping the room. I suggest we organize a public demonstration of Michael and Zara's new abilities. Let our people see firsthand what this union has achieved. Michael felt a mix of excitement and trepidation at the idea. Through their bond, he sensed Zara's similar conflicted emotions. Dr. Summers nodded enthusiastically. An excellent idea, Your Majesty. We can use this opportunity to gather valuable data as well. As plans for the demonstration began to take shape, Michael and Zara found themselves swept up in a whirlwind of preparations. They spent the next few days undergoing a battery of tests and examinations, all while trying to come to terms with their new abilities. The day of the demonstration arrived with a mix of anticipation and tension. The great arena at the heart of the capital was filled to capacity, with thousands of Shindi citizens and off-world observers in attendance. As Michael and Zara stepped into the arena, a hush fell over the crowd. They stood hand in hand, their transformed bodies a stark visual reminder of the unprecedented nature of their bond. Ready? Michael asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Zara nodded, her markings pulsing with grit. Together, she replied. They began their demonstration, moving in perfect synchronization. Michael reached out with his mind, feeling the complex bioelectrical fields that permeated the air. With a gesture, he manipulated these fields, creating dazzling displays of light that danced and swirled above the awestruck crowd. Zara, meanwhile, showcased her enhanced strength. She effortlessly lifted massive Zendorian artifacts, her movements graceful and controlled despite the immense weight. As their performance reached its climax, combining Michael's light manipulation with Zara's displays of strength, the crowd erupted in cheers. Even the most skeptical observers couldn't deny the impressive nature of their abilities. But just as the demonstration seemed to be winning over the audience, a commotion erupted in the stands. A group of Shindi, their markings pulsing with anger, pushed their way towards the arena floor. Abominations! Vexoar's voice boomed across the arena. We will not allow this desecration of our species to continue. As Vexioar and his followers surged forward, Michael and Zara found themselves facing their first real test. The chaos that ensued would not only challenge their new abilities, but also the fragile peace between humans and Shindi. The chaos that ensued would not only challenge their new abilities, but also the fragile peace between humans and Shindi. As Vexior and his followers charged towards Michael and Zara, security forces rushed to intercept them. The arena erupted into pandemonium, with spectators fleeing in all directions. Michael reached out with his mind, manipulating the bioelectrical fields around them to create a barrier of shimmering energy. Zara stood beside him, her enhanced strength ready to defend against any who broke through. "We need to end this peacefully," Michael said, his voice tense. Zara nodded, her markings pulsing with purpose. "Let's show them what we can really do." As the security forces struggled to contain Vexior's group, Michael and Zara joined hands. They focused their combined energy, creating a field that expanded outward from their position. As it washed over the crowd, both humans and Shindy found themselves momentarily enhanced. The effect was immediate and startling. Shindy security guards moved with increased speed and agility, easily outmaneuvering Vexior's followers. Human observers found themselves able to understand and communicate in Shindy languages they had never studied. For a brief moment, the arena fell silent as everyone marveled at their newfound abilities. Even Vexior paused, his markings pulsing with confusion and awe. Queen Mina seized the opportunity, her voice carrying across the arena. "Behold the true potential of our union. This is not a threat to our species, but a path to greatness for both." As the energy field dissipated, the enhanced abilities faded, but the impact of the demonstration lingered. Vexior and his followers were quickly apprehended, their resistance crumbling in the face of this display of power and unity. In the days that followed, news of the event spread rapidly across Endoria and Earth. The demonstration had a profound effect, sparking intense debate and renewed interest in the human-Shindy bonding experiments. Dr. Elena Summers found herself at the center of a whirlwind of activity. Her research team expanded overnight, as both human and Shindy scientists clamored to join the project. However, with the increased attention came new challenges. "We need to proceed with caution, Dr. Summers advised during a high-level briefing. "The potential benefits are enormous, but so are the risks." Her words proved prophetic as reports began to surface of complications among the human volunteers. Captain Jack Harper, one of the first to undergo the bonding process after Michael, started exhibiting alarming symptoms. "His bioluminescent patterns are unstable," a Shindy medical officer reported, gesturing to the erratically pulsing lights beneath Harper's skin. "And we're detecting unusual energy emissions." Dr. Summers leaned in, her face a mask of concentration as she examined Harper. "We need to stabilize him immediately. Prepare a stasis chamber and alert the medical team." As they worked to contain the situation, Michael and Zara found themselves grappling with their evolving abilities. During a training session, they discovered they could extend their energy field to enhance others around them, similar to what they had done in the arena but with more control. "This could change everything," Michael said, watching as a group of human and Shindy volunteers performed feats of strength and agility far beyond their normal capabilities. Zara nodded, her expression a mix of excitement and concern. "But at what cost? Look at what happened to Captain Harper." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a stern-faced military official. "The general would like to see you both immediately," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. As they followed the official, Michael and Zara exchanged worried glances. They could sense a growing interest from military leaders on both sides, and it made them uneasy. Meanwhile, in the royal palace, Queen Mina faced mounting pressure from various factions. Reports of Vexior's growing support among conservative Shindy groups landed on her desk, alongside demands from Earth's representatives for greater control over the bonding experiments. "This situation is becoming untenable," she muttered, her markings pulsing with stress. With a heavy sigh, she made a decision. Summon the Earth ambassador. "It's time we had a frank discussion about the future of this program." As Queen Mina prepared for the diplomatic showdown, Dr. Summers and her team worked tirelessly to stabilize the affected humans. In a cluttered laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays of cellular structures, she had a breakthrough. "The Zendorian crystal!" she exclaimed, her eyes wide with realization. Its properties could help regulate the bonding process. Her excitement was short-lived as a junior researcher approached with a grim expression. "Doctor, we've just received word. Anti-alien protesters on Earth have targeted the families of volunteers. The situation is escalating rapidly." Dr. Summers closed her eyes, feeling the weight of responsibility bearing down on her. When she opened them again, her gaze was steely with tenacity. "We need to accelerate our research. The stakes have never been higher." As night fell on the Zendorian capital, Michael and Zara stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The bioluminescent patterns of the buildings below mirrored the swirling designs on their skin, a constant reminder of their unique position between two worlds. "We need to do something," Zara said, her voice barely above a whisper. Michael nodded, his mind racing with possibilities. "I have an idea, but it's risky. We need to show everyone on both planets what we're truly capable of." Before Zara could respond, an alarm blared through the city. In the distance, explosions lit up the night sky. VexCOR's followers had made their move, attacking key research facilities across the capital. As chaos erupted in the streets below, Michael and Zara knew their moment had come. The fate of two species hung in the balance, and they were the only ones who could tip the scales. Scales. The fate of two species hung in the balance, and they were the only ones who could tip the... As the chaos in the city subsided, Michael and Zara found themselves thrust into the spotlight once again. The grand demonstration, planned meticulously over the past weeks, was set to begin in mere hours. The amphitheater, a vast structure capable of holding thousands, buzzed with anticipation as humans and Shindy alike filed in, their eyes wide with curiosity and trepidation. Michael stood at the edge of the stage, his heart pounding. Through their bond, he could feel Zara's nervous energy pulsing in sync with his own. The weight of expectation pressed down on them both. "This is it," he whispered, reaching for her hand. "Are you ready?" Zara's markings flickered with willpower. "As ready as we'll ever be." As they stepped onto the stage, a hush fell over the crowd. Billions of eyes across two worlds focused on them through holographic broadcasts. Michael took a deep breath, centering himself as Dr. Summers had taught him. "Begin," came the quiet command from Queen Mina, seated in the front row. Michael and Zara joined hands, closing their eyes in concentration. A faint shimmer appeared around them, slowly expanding outward. As it grew, gasps of amazement rippled through the audience. Humans and Shindy at the edge of the stage stepped forward, volunteering to enter the field. A human woman entered first, her eyes widening as she felt the energy wash over her. She lifted a heavy Shindy artifact with ease, her muscles barely straining under the weight. Next, a Shindy male stepped in, his markings pulsing rapidly as he solved complex mathematical equations projected before him with uncanny speed. The demonstration continued, each volunteer showcasing enhanced abilities that left the audience in awe. Michael and Zara's energy field expanded further, encompassing more of the amphitheater. Suddenly, a series of sharp pops echoed through the air. Michael's eyes snapped open, his concentration breaking. "Something's wrong," he grunted, feeling their bond fluctuate wildly. Zara's markings flashed in distress. "I feel it too. The field, it's destabilizing." Throughout the amphitheater, hidden devices activated, emitting pulses that interfered with their energy field. The once smooth shimmer began to waver and distort. In the ensuing confusion, a familiar figure pushed through the crowd. Captain Jack Harper, his skin pulsing with unstable bioluminescent patterns, staggered into the energy field. "Harper, no!" Dr. Summers shouted, but it was too late. The unstable captain's body reacted violently with the field. Arcs of energy crackled around him as he attempted to absorb and redirect the power. The amphitheater rumbled ominously. Queen Mina rose to her feet, her voice cutting through the growing panic. "Evacuate immediately. Security, contain the situation." As spectators fled, Michael and Zara struggled to maintain control. The strain was visible on their faces, sweat beading on their foreheads as they fought against the chaotic energy surges. "We can't hold it," Michael gasped, feeling their bond stretch to its limits. Zara's eyes met his, filled with unwavering perseverance. "We have to sever it. It's the only way." With a shared nod of understanding, they began the painful process of separating their bond. The agony was immediate and intense. Michael felt as if his very atoms were being torn apart. Beside him, Zara's markings pulsed erratically, her face contorted in pain. As they neared the completion of the severance, a blinding flash erupted from the center of the arena. The energy they released interacted with the rare Zendorian mineral Dr. Summers and her team had brought, creating a shockwave that swept through the amphitheater. In an instant, all heightened abilities ceased. Captain Harper collapsed to the ground, his unstable powers suddenly suppressed. Vexior's followers, who had been clashing with security forces, found their weapons and devices rendered useless. The silence that followed was deafening. Michael and Zara stood apart, their bodies trembling from the ordeal. The bond that had defined them for weeks was gone, leaving a hollow emptiness in its wake. Queen Mina's voice, strained but resolute, broke the silence. "This demonstration is over. All human Shindy bonding experiments are hereby suspended. Guards, secure Michael and Zara for their protection." As they were led away, Michael caught a glimpse of Dr. Summers being escorted out by her security personnel. The look of defeat on her face spoke volumes. In the days that followed, the fallout from the failed demonstration spread like wildfire across both planets. Michael and Zara found themselves isolated, kept under guard in separate quarters within the royal palace. Despite the physical distance between them, each could still sense a faint echo of the other, a residual connection that refused to fade completely. As they grappled with the personal and political ramifications of their actions, neither could shake the feeling that their story was just getting started. The bond they had shared, though severed, had changed them in ways they were only beginning to understand. And as tensions between humans and Shindy continued to escalate, they knew that their unique perspective might be the key to preventing further conflict. Michael stood at the window of his quarters, watching the bioluminescent patterns of the Shindy city pulse with an intensity that seemed to mirror the turmoil of recent events. He placed his hand against the cool surface, his altered skin still shimmering faintly in the dim light. "Zara," he whispered, reaching out with his mind, hoping against hope to feel her presence. For a moment, he thought he sensed a flicker of response, but it vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Beyond the confines of the palace, the future of human Shindy relations hung in the balance. The failed demonstration had opened a Pandora's box of fears and prejudices on both sides. As the Galactic Alliance convened emergency sessions and talks of sanctions began, Michael and Zara knew that their journey was not nearly finished. The true test of their bond and of the potential for human Shindy cooperation was yet to come. The true test of their bond and of the potential for human Shindy cooperation was yet to come. In the days following the catastrophic demonstration, the situation deteriorated rapidly. The Galactic Alliance, once a symbol of interspecies unity, now imposed harsh sanctions on both Earth and Zendoria. Interplanetary travel ground to a halt, and communication channels fell silent. The isolation that followed was suffocating, leaving both humans and Shindy to grapple with the consequences of their actions in solitude. Michael paced his quarters restlessly, the faint shimmer of his altered skin a constant reminder of what had been lost. He paused at the window, watching the bioluminescent city pulse with an intensity that seemed to mirror the turmoil within him. A soft chime at his door broke his reverie. "Enter," he called. turning to face his visitor. Queen Mina glided into the room, her markings subdued but her eyes sharp with purpose. "Michael, we need to talk." He nodded, gesturing for her to continue. "The situation has become untenable," she began, her voice low. "My advisors are pushing for a complete severance of ties with Earth, but I believe there's still hope for cooperation between our species." Michael's brow furrowed. "What are you proposing?" Queen Mina's markings pulsed with drive. "A covert mission to Earth. We need to salvage the diplomatic situation and continue our research away from the Alliance's scrutiny." Michael's pulse quickened at the thought. "And you want me to go?" "You and Zara," she confirmed. "Your unique experience makes you invaluable to this mission." The mention of Zara sent a jolt through Michael. Despite their separation, he could still sense a faint echo of her presence. He closed his eyes, reaching out with his mind. For a fleeting moment, he felt a flicker of response. "I'll do it," he said, opening his eyes with renewed purpose. Within hours, Michael found himself face to face with Zara for the first time since their bond had been severed. The tension between them was palpable, a mixture of uncommitment emotions and the strange emptiness where their connection had once been. "Are you sure about this?" Zara asked, her markings flickering with uncertainty. Michael nodded. "We have to try. For both our worlds." As they prepared for their secret journey, a new figure entered their orbit. Commander Talon, a high-ranking Shindi military officer, strode into the room with an air of authority. His piercing gaze swept over Michael and Zara, assessing them with visible skepticism. "I'll be overseeing the security of this mission," he announced, his tone clipped. "Let's hope your human intuition doesn't jeopardize our operation." Michael bristled at the comment, but held his tongue. They had more pressing matters to attend to. The plan came together swiftly. Dr. Elena Summers, contacted through a secure channel, agreed to set up a clandestine laboratory on Earth. A small team of Shindi scientists would be smuggled to the planet under the guise of a cultural exchange program. As the day of departure approached, Michael and Zara found themselves working in close proximity once more. In the confined space of the modified Shindi spacecraft, they couldn't avoid confronting the lingering effects of their bond. "Can you still feel it?" Zara asked quietly as they ran pre-flight checks. Michael paused, focusing on the faint connection between them. "Yes," he admitted. "It's weak, but it's there." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the spark of their former bond flared to life. But before they could explore it further, Commander Talon's voice cut through the moment. "Final checks complete. Prepare for launch." The experimental cloaking technology hummed to life as they lifted off, their small craft slipping past the Alliance's detection systems with surprising ease. As they navigated through the heavily patrolled sectors of space, Michael and Zara found themselves falling into a familiar rhythm, their residual connection allowing them to communicate without words. Their journey proceeded smoothly until they approached Earth's solar system. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Vraktar patrol fleet detected," Commander Talon announced, his fingers flying over the control panel. "Their presence here is unexpected." The tension in the cabin skyrocketed as they realized the implications. What were the Vraktar doing so close to Earth? As they maneuvered to avoid detection, their cloaking technology was pushed to its limits. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently. "Power fluctuation," Zara called out, her markings pulsing rapidly. "We're about to lose our cloak." Acting on instinct, Michael reached out to Zara. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, their residual bond surged to life. Energy flowed between them, human intuition melding with Shindi bioelectrical manipulation. Together, they stabilized the ship's systems, narrowly avoiding detection. Commander Talon watched the display with grudging admiration. "Impressive," he muttered, "but we're not out of danger yet." As they approached Earth's orbit, the final challenge loomed before them, entering the atmosphere undetected. Michael's knowledge of Earth's satellite blind spots, combined with Zara's ability to generate a protective energy field, offered their best chance at success. "This is going to be rough," Michael warned as they began their descent. "We're pushing this ship beyond its limits." The craft shuddered and groaned as they plunged into the atmosphere. Warning lights flashed across the console as systems began to fail under the strain. "We're losing structural integrity," Commander Talon shouted over the din. In that moment of crisis, Michael and Zara made a desperate decision. Their eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. Together, they reached for their severed bond, forcing a reconnection. The surge of energy was immediate and overwhelming. Pain lanced through their bodies as their temporarily reunited bond stabilized the ship. The craft careened through the atmosphere, barely under control. With a bone-jarring impact, they crash-landed in a remote area. As the dust settled, the team emerged from the wreckage, shaken but alive. Michael helped Zara to her feet, both of them wincing from the aftereffects of their forced bond. The connection had faded once more, but something had changed. They could feel it in their very cells, a physiological shift that neither fully understood. As they surveyed their surroundings, the reality of their situation sank in. They had made it to Earth, but their challenges were far from finished. In this new, hostile political climate, they were now fugitives on Michael's home planet. Commander Talon approached, his expression grim. "We need to move. It won't be long before someone investigates the crash." Under the cover of darkness, the team gathered their equipment and set out. Michael and Zara took the lead, their residual connection guiding them through the unfamiliar terrain. As they moved silently through the night, the weight of their mission pressed down upon them. The fate of two worlds rested on their shoulders, and the journey ahead promised to test them in ways they couldn't yet imagine. The dense foliage provided cover as they moved swiftly through the night, their senses on high alert for any sign of pursuit. As dawn broke, they reached a small clearing and decided to establish a makeshift camp. Michael and Zara worked in tandem, their residual connection allowing them to anticipate each other's needs without a word. Commander Talon observed their silent coordination with a mixture of fascination and unease. "We need to contact Dr. Summers," Michael said, wiping sweat from his brow as he finished setting up a crude shelter. "She's our only lifeline on this planet now." Zara nodded, her markings pulsing with commitment. "I'll see what I can salvage from the ship's communication array." Hours passed as they worked to piece together a functional communication system from the wreckage. The tension in the air was palpable, each member of the team acutely aware of their vulnerability on this now hostile world. Finally, a crackle of static broke the silence. Zara's eyes widened as she fine-tuned the signal. "I think I've got something," she whispered. Michael leaned in close, his shoulder brushing against hers. The contact sent a jolt through their residual bond, momentarily intensifying their connection. They shared a quick glance before focusing on the task at hand. "Dr. Summers?" Michael called into the makeshift communicator. "This is Michael. Do you read us?" Seconds stretched into eternity before a familiar voice responded, distorted but unmistakable. "Michael? Thank God. Are you safe? What's your status?" Relief washed over the team as Michael quickly briefed Dr. Summers on their situation. Her voice grew tense as she relayed the current state of affairs on Earth. "Listen carefully," Dr. Summers said, her words tinged with urgency. "Anti-alien sentiment has reached a fever pitch. The government has implemented extreme security measures. You'll need to be incredibly cautious as you make your way here." She provided coordinates for a rendezvous point, emphasizing the need for discretion. "And Michael," she added, "you'll need to disguise the Shindi. Earth isn't safe for them right now." As they ended the transmission, the reality of their situation sank in. They were fugitives on Michael's home planet, surrounded by a populace gripped by fear and paranoia. Commander Talon took charge, his military training coming to the fore. We'll need to move in small groups, less conspicuous that way. They spent the next few hours crafting crude disguises for the Shindy team members. Earth clothing scavenged from their emergency supplies was combined with makeshift prosthetics to conceal their alien features. The result was far from perfect, but it would have to suffice. As they prepared to move out, Michael noticed Zara wincing in pain. Without thinking, he reached out to steady her. The moment their skin made contact, a surge of energy pulsed between them. Suddenly, he could feel her discomfort as if it were his own. "Your arm," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "You injured it in the crash." Zara looked at him in surprise. "How did you?" "I don't know," Michael admitted. "Ever since we reconnected during the landing, it's like our bond is evolving." Commander Talon approached, his eyes narrowing as he observed their interaction. "Is there a problem?" Michael and Zara quickly stepped apart, but the lingering sensation of their connection remained. "No problem," Michael assured him. "We're ready to move." As they set out towards the rendezvous point, Michael and Zara found themselves gravitating towards each other. Their heightened awareness of each other's presence became both a comfort and a distraction as they navigated the unfamiliar terrain. The team's first true test came when they encountered a group of human hikers on a narrow trail. Michael's heart raced as he stepped forward, plastering on a friendly smile. "Beautiful day for a hike, isn't it?" he called out, positioning himself to partially block the view of his disguised companions. The hikers paused, their eyes scanning the odd group. "Sure is," one of them replied, his tone cautious. "You folks aren't from around here, are you?" Michael laughed, the sound forced even to his own ears. "That obvious, huh? We're on a team-building retreat. Corporate stuff. You know how it is." He launched into a rambling story about their fictional company, peppering his speech with Earth-specific references and jargon. All the while, he could feel Zara's growing anxiety through their bond. He subtly shifted his stance, allowing his hand to brush against hers. A wave of calm passed between them, steadying them both. As the hikers moved on, the team collectively exhaled. They had passed their first test, but the close call served as a stark reminder of the dangers that lay ahead. Approaching the outskirts of a small town, they were confronted with a troubling sight. Military vehicles patrolled the streets, and large screens displayed news broadcasts detailing new security measures. In response to the Zendorian incident, a stern-faced newscaster announced, "The government has authorized the deployment of advanced alien detection systems in all major cities. Citizens are urged to report any suspicious activity." Commander Talon's expression darkened. "This complicates things," he muttered, scanning the area for potential threats. Michael felt a chill run down his spine as he processed the implications. Their journey to Dr. Summers' laboratory had just become exponentially more dangerous. As night fell, the team found shelter in an abandoned warehouse on the town's periphery. Commander Talon called them together, his voice low and serious. "We need to adapt our strategy," he began. "I propose we split into 2 groups. It will minimize our chances of detection." Michael immediately tensed, instinctively reaching for Zara. "I don't think that's a good idea," he argued. "Our bond, it's growing stronger. It could be crucial for navigating these new security measures." A heated debate ensued, with valid points raised on both sides. Finally, they reached a compromise. Michael, Zara, and 2 of the Shindy scientists would make a direct push for Dr. Summers' lab. Commander Talon would lead the rest of the team on a diversionary route, drawing attention away from the main group. As they prepared to part ways, Michael pulled Zara aside. "There's something we need to try," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I think we might be able to use our bond to mask our presence from Earth sensors." Zara's eyes widened, her markings pulsing with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "How?" Michael took a deep breath, acutely aware of the weight of his next words. "We need to fully embrace our connection, push it further than we ever have before. It's risky, but it might be our only chance to get through the final security checkpoints." As understanding dawned in Zara's eyes, Michael felt a surge of emotions through their bond: fear, purpose, and something deeper that neither of them was ready to name. "When do we start?" Zara asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil Michael could sense beneath the surface. Michael glanced towards the city, where the glow of the security checkpoints loomed in the distance. "Soon," he replied. "Very soon." They rejoined the group, the unspoken weight of their impending trial hanging between them. As Commander Talon's team prepared to depart, Michael caught the Shindy officer's eye. A moment of understanding passed between them, a silent acknowledgement of the dangers they faced and the trust they were placing in each other. With final nods exchanged, the team set off on their separate paths. Michael led his group towards the heart of the city, each step bringing them closer to both their goal and the greatest challenge they had yet to face. As they approached the outer security perimeter, Michael and Zara exchanged a loaded glance. They ducked into the shadow of an abandoned building, their hearts racing with anticipation and fear. "Are you ready?" Michael asked, his voice barely audible. Zara nodded, her markings glowing faintly in the darkness. "As ready as I'll ever be." They reached for each other, fingers intertwining as they prepared to push their bond to its limits. Energy began to build between them, a familiar sensation but with a new, almost overwhelming intensity. As their connection deepened, the world around them seemed to fade away. They stood on the precipice of something profound, a union that would test the very boundaries of their beings. With a shared breath, they took the plunge, surrendering themselves to the power of their bond. The abandoned building filled with a soft, pulsating light as Michael and Zara's bodies began to glow. They were crossing a threshold, venturing into uncharted territory in their relationship and their very physiology. The fate of their mission, and perhaps the future of human-Shindy relations, hung in the balance as they surrendered to the transformative power of their connection. Bond, the fate of their mission, and perhaps the future of human-Shindy relations, hung in the balance as they surrendered to the transformative power of their connection. As Michael and Zara deepened their bond, a soft, pulsating light emanated from their bodies. The glow intensified, enveloping them in a cocoon of energy that seemed to ripple and shift with each passing moment. The two Shindy scientists watched in awe as the luminescent field expanded, its unique signature masking their presence from Earth's detection systems. Michael gasped as he felt his consciousness merging with Zara's. Their thoughts intertwined, forming a shared mental landscape that transcended words. He could sense her every emotion, every subtle shift in her physiology. Zara's markings pulsed in sync with Michael's heartbeat, their bodies moving in perfect harmony. As the bonding process reached its peak, Michael and Zara opened their eyes, their gazes locking with a newfound intensity. They didn't need to speak. Their enhanced connection allowed them to communicate without words. "It's time," Michael projected through their bond, feeling Zara's agreement resonate within him. They stepped out of the abandoned building, the energy field around them shimmering faintly. The two Shindy scientists followed closely, their crude disguises now unnecessary thanks to the camouflage provided by Michael and Zara's bond. As they approached the final security checkpoint, Michael felt a surge of tension from Zara. He instinctively reached for her hand, their fingers intertwining. A wave of calm washed over them both, steadying their nerves. The checkpoint loomed before them, a maze of advanced sensors and heavily armed guards. Michael led the group forward, his steps sure and purposeful. As they passed through the security scanners, he held his breath, feeling Zara do the same through their connection. Seconds ticked by as the scanners processed their data. Then, miraculously, the light turned green. They had made it through undetected. Once clear of the checkpoint, the team quickened their pace. They navigated through the city streets, their movements guided by the coordinates Dr. Summers had provided. Finally, they arrived at an unassuming office building on the outskirts of town. Michael approached a nondescript panel near the service entrance, placing his hand on the smooth surface. A hidden scanner analyzed his biometrics, and a moment later, a section of the wall slid open to reveal a narrow passageway. They descended into the depths of the earth, the passage eventually opening into a vast underground chamber. Dr. Elena Summers stood waiting for them, her expression a mix of relief and concern. "Thank God you made it," she said, embracing Michael briefly before turning to examine the rest of the group. Her eyes widened as she took in the pulsating energy field surrounding Michael and Zara. "Fascinating," she murmured, reaching for a nearby scanner. "Your bond. It's unlike anything I've ever seen." As Dr. Summers began her examination, Michael felt a strange tingling sensation throughout his body. He glanced at Zara, seeing his own confusion mirrored in her eyes. "Dr. Summers," he said, his voice tight with tension, "something's happening to us." The scientist's brow furrowed as she studied the readouts on her scanner. "Your physiologies are continuing to change," she explained, her tone a mix of excitement and concern. "Michael, your DNA now contains traces of Shindi genetic material. And Zara, your bioluminescent patterns. They're mimicking human brain wave patterns." Michael and Zara exchanged a look of shock, their enhanced bond amplifying their shared sense of disbelief and wonder. "What does this mean for us?" Zara asked, her markings pulsing with anxiety. Dr. Summers shook her head, her eyes gleaming with scientific curiosity. "I'm not sure yet, but the implications for human-Shindi relations could be staggering." As they grappled with this new development, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Red warning lights bathed the laboratory in an eerie glow. Multiple security breaches detected, an automated voice announced. Unknown assailants approaching from multiple vectors. Dr. Summers rushed to a nearby console, her fingers flying over the controls. "I'm activating emergency protocols," she called out. "We need to secure the research data." Michael and Zara moved in perfect synchronization, their enhanced abilities allowing them to anticipate each other's actions. They began preparing the lab's defenses, their movements fluid and precise. The Shindi scientists hurried to assist Dr. Summers, helping her transfer critical data to secure servers. The sound of distant explosions echoed through the facility, growing closer with each passing moment. As Michael and Zara took up defensive positions near the main entrance, they felt a surge of shared grit course through their bond. Whatever was coming, they would face it together. The heavy blast doors at the entrance began to glow red, the metal warping under intense heat. Michael and Zara braced themselves, their enhanced connection allowing them to form a unified front against the impending threat. With a deafening screech, the doors burst open, revealing a group of shadowy figures silhouetted against the fiery opening. As the smoke cleared, Michael's heart sank. He recognized the lead figure, his face contorted with a mix of rage and desperation. "Captain Harper," Michael breathed, feeling Zara's shock ripple through their bond. The former captain stepped forward, his body crackling with unstable energy. "You thought you could hide from me?" he snarled, his eyes wild and unfocused. "I've come to finish what we started." Behind Harper, more figures emerged from the smoke, a mix of human soldiers and what appeared to be alien beings unlike anything Michael had ever seen. The situation had just become far more complicated than they could have imagined. As both sides tensed for the inevitable confrontation, Michael felt a surge of commitment flow through his bond with Zara. They had come too far to fail now. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, their unique connection their greatest strength in the face of overwhelming odds. The tension in the air was palpable as Michael and Zara faced off against Captain Harper and his motley crew of human soldiers and alien beings. The former captain's unstable energy crackled through the air, setting everyone's nerves on edge. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility, red warning lights bathing the laboratory in an eerie glow. Michael and Zara exchanged a quick glance, their enhanced bond allowing them to communicate without words. In perfect synchronization, they sprang into action. Michael's fingers flew across a nearby console, accessing the security systems. His eyes widened as he processed the information. 3 groups converging on our location, he reported, his voice taut with urgency. Earth military, the militia we encountered earlier, and something else. Unknown tech, highly advanced stealth capabilities. Dr. Summers rushed to another terminal, her face grim. I'm initiating a data transfer protocol, she announced. We need to upload all our research to a secure off-site server and destroy any physical evidence. It'll take at least 10 minutes. Zara's markings pulsed with perseverance. We'll buy you that time, she said, moving to stand beside Michael. As the first wave of Earth military forces breached the outer perimeter, Michael and Zara sprang into action. Their movements were fluid, almost dance-like, as they anticipated each other's actions through their bond. Michael's intimate knowledge of Earth military tactics melded seamlessly with Zara's Shindi combat training. They moved through the incoming soldiers like water, disabling weapons and communications equipment with precision strikes. Michael ducked under a soldier's swing, using the man's momentum to send him sprawling into his comrades. Zara followed up with a series of quick jabs, hitting pressure points that left the soldiers incapacitated but unharmed. Outside the facility, Commander Talon and his team raced towards a hidden laboratory. The streets blurred past as they pushed their vehicles to the limit. Suddenly, the familiar roar of the malicious engines filled the air. Evasive maneuvers, Talon barked, swerving sharply to avoid a hail of weapons fire. The chase wound through the outskirts of the city, a deadly game of cat and mouse. Talon's expert piloting and the advanced Shindi technology gave them an edge, but the militia's knowledge of the terrain kept them hot on their heels. Back in the facility, a new threat emerged. The air shimmered, and suddenly a group of alien beings materialized, Vraktar operatives. They deployed strange devices that emitted a low, pulsing hum. Michael stumbled, feeling his connection to Zara waver. The energy-dampening fields disrupted their bond, forcing them to adapt quickly. They fell back on their individual strengths, moving with less synchronicity but no less willpower. As Zara engaged the Vraktar, Michael sensed a disturbance from the main laboratory. Through their bond, he felt a spike of fear from Dr. Summers. Without hesitation, he sprinted towards the source of the distress. He burst into the lab to find Captain Harper confronting Dr. Summers, his body flickering in and out of phase. The sight of his former superior officer's deteriorated state sent a shock through Michael. "Captain Harper," he called out, drawing the man's attention. "Stand down. You don't know what you're doing." Harper's eyes, wild and unfocused, locked onto Michael. "You," he snarled. "You're the key to all this. The missing piece of the puzzle." Michael barely had time to react as Harper lunged at him, his fist passing through solid matter one moment and becoming devastatingly corporeal the next. The two men engaged in a fierce struggle, with Harper's unstable powers giving him a dangerous and unpredictable edge. Michael weaved and dodged, relying on his enhanced agility and the residual energy from his bond with Zara to stay ahead of Harper's attacks. He led the fight away from Dr. Summers and the vital research data, using the laboratory equipment to his advantage. As they fought, Michael caught glimpses of the larger battle through his connection with Zara. He felt her relief as Commander Talon's team arrived, turning the tide against the Vraktar forces. But he also sensed a new threat looming. Earth's military was regrouping, calling for massive reinforcements that threatened to expose everything. With a surge of desperate energy, Michael managed to maneuver Harper into position. He activated a nearby containment field, originally designed for unstable energy experiments. Harper howled in rage as the field enveloped him, his powers fluctuating wildly but contained. Dr. Summers approached cautiously, her eyes wide as she observed Harper's condition. "Michael," she said, her voice tight with urgency, "we need to move. The data transfer is complete, and I've initiated the self-destruct sequence. We have minutes before this entire facility is erased." As if to emphasize her point, a deep rumble shook the building, and chunks of ceiling began to fall around them. Michael nodded, hefting the contained Harper onto his shoulder. They raced out of the lab, meeting up with Zara and the others in the main chamber. The team fought their way out of the crumbling facility, the precious minutes ticking away. As they emerged into the open air, Michael and Zara suddenly stumbled, overwhelmed by a surge in their bond. Their bodies began to emit a bright, pulsating light, reminiscent of the energy signature that had allowed them to bypass Earth's detection systems. Dr. Summers looked at them in alarm and fascination. The stress of combat must have accelerated the bonding process, she theorized quickly. "We need to get you both somewhere safe for observation." Commander Talon's communicator chirped, and he listened intently to the encrypted message. "Queen Mina reports the Galactic Alliance is sending a diplomatic envoy," he informed the group. "But they won't arrive for several hours. We need to find a secure location and avoid Earth's forces until then." As the facility behind them began to collapse in on itself, erasing all evidence of their presence, the team faced a critical decision. Michael and Zara, their bond pulsing with newfound power, stood at the center of a storm that threatened to engulf not just them, but potentially the entire planet. With Earth's military closing in and the unstable Captain Harper in their custody, they had to move quickly. The fate of human-Shindy relations, and perhaps much more, hung in the balance as they prepared to navigate the chaotic hours ahead. As the facility behind them crumbled into dust, Michael and Zara exchanged a quick glance, their bond pulsing with shared urgency. Dr. Summers' voice cut through the chaos. "We need to split up. It's our best chance to avoid detection." Commander Talon nodded, his features set with relentless drive. "Agreed. My team will create a diversion. Michael, Zara, Dr. Summers, take Harper and head east. We'll rendezvous at the safe house." Without hesitation, the group divided. Michael hoisted the contained Harper onto his shoulder, the former captain's unstable energy crackling against the field. As they moved swiftly through the shadows of the city's outskirts, Michael felt a strange, tingling sensation spreading through his body. Zara gasped beside him, her markings flashing with surprise. "Michael, you're glowing." He looked down to see a soft, pulsating light emanating from his skin. Zara's bioluminescent patterns had intensified, matching the rhythm of his own glow. The light grew brighter as they moved closer together, casting eerie shadows on the surrounding buildings. Dr. Summers' eyes widened with a mix of fascination and concern. She pulled out a small, handheld device, a portable scanner she had managed to grab during their hasty escape. "The bond is evolving faster than we anticipated," she murmured, studying the readings. "The stress of our situation seems to be accelerating the process." As they navigated through dark alleys and abandoned streets, Michael and Zara discovered their newfound luminescence was both a blessing and a curse. The soft glow allowed them to see clearly in the pitch-black corners of the city, but it also made them more visible to any pursuing forces. Suddenly, a group of civilians rounded a corner, stopping short at the sight of the glowing pair. Gasps and murmurs of awe filled the air. "Angels!" one woman breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "No, they must be aliens," another man countered, reaching for his communication device. Michael tensed, ready for action, but Dr. Summers intervened. "We need to find shelter now," she hissed urgently. They ducked into a nearby abandoned warehouse, the rusted metal doors groaning as they slid shut behind them. Inside, the cavernous space was filled with shadows and forgotten machinery. Dr. Summers immediately set to work, using their limited medical supplies to stabilize Harper's condition. As Michael and Zara stood watch, their bond surged unexpectedly. Michael gasped as a flood of sensory information washed over him. The cool metal of the floor beneath Zara's feet, the faint scent of ozone that clung to her skin. He blinked, realizing he was seeing through her eyes, feeling what she felt. "Zara," he whispered, "can you—" She nodded, her markings pulsing with shared amazement. "I can see through your eyes, feel what you feel. It's incredible." Their shared senses suddenly alerted them to a new threat. The distant sound of military vehicles approaching reached their ears long before they would have normally detected them. "We need to move," Michael said, his voice low and urgent. "Earth forces are closing in." As they prepared to leave, a figure emerged from the shadows, causing them all to tense. But instead of an enemy, they found an unexpected ally. "Dr. Jenkins?" Dr. Summers exclaimed, recognizing her former colleague. The man stepped forward, his eyes darting between Michael, Zara, and the contained Harper. "I've been working undercover in the Earth government," he explained quickly. "There's a faction seeking to weaponize the bonding process. I'm here to help." With Dr. Jenkins' assistance, they acquired secure transportation and made their way to a safe house, a secluded cabin nestled deep in a dense forest. As they traveled, Captain Harper regained consciousness, his unstable condition causing erratic energy pulses that interfered with the vehicle's systems. Drawing on their strengthened bond, Michael and Zara worked in perfect synchronization to contain Harper's emissions. As they did so, they felt another change sweep through them. Their skin took on a faint iridescent sheen, shimmering in the low light of the vehicle. At the safe house, Dr. Summers and Dr. Jenkins wasted no time in setting up a makeshift lab. Michael and Zara watched as the scientists pored over data, their fingers flying across holographic displays as they sought to understand the accelerating changes. As night fell, exhaustion began to take its toll. Michael and Zara found themselves drifting off to sleep, only to discover that even in their dreams, their bond persisted. They found themselves in a vivid mental landscape, able to communicate and interact as if they were awake. Within this dreamscape, fragments of genetic memory from both their species began to surface. Glimpses of long-forgotten interactions between humans and Shindy flashed before them, providing tantalizing hints at a shared history far more complex than either had imagined. They awoke to the sound of alarms blaring. Commander Talon's voice crackled over the communication system, reporting that they had successfully evaded their pursuers, but warning of an unprecedented mobilization of Earth's military forces. As dawn broke, the safe house became a hive of activity. Dr. Summers and Dr. Jenkins worked feverishly on their research, while Michael and Zara struggled to control their increasingly powerful abilities. The air crackled with tension as they raced against time, seeking solutions to stabilize their bond, cure Harper's condition, and prevent an interstellar war. Suddenly, a shrill beat cut through the air. The perimeter sensors flashed red, indicating multiple unidentified craft approaching from different directions. Michael and Zara locked eyes, their bond surging with shared drive and uncertainty. As the team scrambled to prepare for a potential confrontation, a new sensation swept through Michael and Zara. Their bond pulsed with unprecedented power, and a shimmering energy field began to spread from their bodies, rapidly enveloping the entire safe house. The team watched in awe and trepidation as the translucent barrier solidified around them, its nature and purpose yet unknown. As the unidentified craft drew nearer, Michael and Zara braced themselves, uncertain whether this new development would prove to be their salvation or their downfall. Undoing, The shimmering barrier solidified, creating a translucent dome that encased the entire safe house and its immediate surroundings. Commander Talon's eyes widened as he studied the readings on his wrist-mounted device. This field, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. It's not just a shield. It's actively interfering with external sensors. Dr. Summers rushed to her makeshift workstation, her fingers flying across holographic displays. Incredible, she breathed. The energy signature is perfectly tuned to mask our presence. We're essentially invisible to conventional detection methods. As the team marveled at their unexpected protection, Dr. Jenkins made a startling discovery. The field isn't just defensive, he announced, excitement coloring his voice. It's amplifying the effectiveness of our equipment. Our research capabilities have just increased tenfold. Michael and Zara exchanged a look of shared wonder, their bond thrumming with newfound power. Without a word, they moved to assist the scientists, their movements perfectly synchronized. As dawn broke, casting long shadows through the forest, the safe house became a hive of frenzied activity. Dr. Summers and Dr. Jenkins worked with renewed vigor, their research accelerated by the enhanced equipment. We've isolated a unique protein sequence, Dr. Summers announced after hours of intense work. It appears to be the key to controlling the bonding process. Dr. Jenkins nodded, his eyes fixed on a complex molecular model rotating above his workstation. If we can synthesize this protein, we might be able to create a serum to stabilize Michael and Zara's condition. And Harper's? Michael asked, glancing at the containment field where the former captain lay unconscious, his body still flickering in and out of phase. Potentially, Dr. Summers replied. The principles are similar. If we can control the bonding process, we should be able to reverse the harmful effects on Captain Harper. As the scientists threw themselves into developing the serum, Commander Talon and his Shindi team took up defensive positions around the perimeter of the energy field. They worked efficiently, setting up a network of sensors and non-lethal deterrents that interfaced seamlessly with the protective barrier. Suddenly, one of Talon's team members called out, multiple craft approaching from all directions. The commander's hands flew over his tactical display, identifying Earth military vessels, Vraktar scout ships, and a diplomatic shuttle. It's broadcasting Galactic Alliance identification codes. The atmosphere in the safe house grew tense as the gravity of their situation became clear. They were at the center of a potential interstellar incident, with three separate factions converging on their location. Michael and Zara stepped outside, their skin shimmering with an iridescent glow. They watched as the first hints of weapons fire lit up the early morning sky. Earth's military forces unleashed a barrage of experimental energy weapons, designed to counteract Shindi technology. The attack splashed harmlessly against the energy field, creating ripples of light that quickly faded. Not to be outdone, the Vraktar ships deployed sleek, tentacle-like devices that latched onto the barrier. Zara hissed as she felt the field weaken slightly. They're trying to drain the energy, she explained to Michael, her markings pulsing with agitation. Amidst the chaos, the Galactic Alliance shuttle hovered just outside the conflict zone, broadcasting messages of peace in multiple languages. This is Ambassador Lyrax of the Galactic Alliance. A calm voice rang out. We urge all parties to cease hostilities immediately and engage in diplomatic negotiations. Inside the safe house, Captain Harper's condition suddenly took a turn for the worse. His containment field began to fluctuate wildly, resonating with the energy of the external barrier. Alarms blared as the unstable energy threatened to break free. Without hesitation, Michael and Zara rushed to Harper's side. Acting on pure instinct, they placed their hands on the containment field. Their shared bond surged, channeling the chaotic energy and stabilizing both Harper and the protective barrier. As they worked, intricate, glowing patterns began to form on their skin, pulsing in perfect synchronization. Dr. Summers watched in awe, her mind racing with the implications of what she was witnessing. "That's it," she exclaimed, her eyes lighting up with sudden inspiration. "Michael, Zara, your evolved bond. It's the missing piece we needed." Working feverishly, Dr. Summers modified the serum she and Dr. Jenkins had been developing. She incorporated elements from Michael and Zara's altered genetic structure, creating a compound that shimmered with possibility. Outside, the situation was rapidly deteriorating. The combined assault from Earth's military and the Vroktar forces was beginning to weaken the energy field. Commander Talon's voice crackled over the communication system. "We can't hold them off much longer without resorting to lethal force. If we do that, we'll have a full-scale war on our hands." Dr. Summers approached Captain Harper's containment field, the modified serum glowing faintly in its injector. "It's now or never," she said, looking to Michael and Zara for confirmation. They nodded in unison, their bond pulsing with shared commitment. Dr. Summers took a deep breath and administered the serum to Harper. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, Harper's body convulsed, his form solidifying as the unstable energy emissions began to stabilize. His eyes snapped open, clear and focused for the first time since his transformation. Encouraged by this success, Michael and Zara volunteered to undergo the treatment as well. As Dr. Summers administered the serum, they felt a surge of power unlike anything they had experienced before. Their combined abilities allowed them to expand and strengthen the energy field around the safe house. The attacking forces were pushed back, their weapons and energy-draining devices rendered ineffective against the reinforced barrier. Taking advantage of this moment of respite, Michael and Zara focused their newfound powers. A shimmering, holographic image of them appeared outside the energy field, visible to all the assembled forces. "People of Earth, Vroktar, and the Galactic Alliance," Michael began, his voice resonating with authority. "We stand at a crossroads of history." As Michael and Zara revealed the truth about the ancient Human-Shindy Treaty and the potential benefits of their hybridization, the assembled forces paused in their assault. The Earth military leaders exchanged uncertain glances, while the Vroktar ships hovered indecisively. Ambassador Lyrax of the Galactic Alliance seized the moment. "In light of these revelations, I propose an immediate ceasefire and the formation of a joint scientific commission to study the implications of human-Shindy bonding. This could be the dawn of a new era of interstellar cooperation." As the tensions began to ease, the energy field around the safe house slowly dissipated. Michael and Zara stepped forward, their glowing patterns clearly visible to all. They stood hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead in the complex negotiations and scientific scrutiny that awaited them. The fate of human-Shindy relations hung in the balance, but for the first time since this crisis began, there was a glimmer of hope for a peaceful resolution. As the sun rose higher in the sky, casting its light on the assembled forces, the team from the safe house prepared to step into a new and uncertain future. As the energy field surrounding the safe house gradually faded, Michael and Zara took a deep breath, their hands still interlocked. The assembled forces watched with a mix of curiosity and apprehension as the couple stepped forward, their skin adorned with intricate, glowing patterns. A hush fell over the clearing as humans, Shindy, and Vroktar alike took in the sight of the bonded pair. Michael could feel the weight of their gazes, but Zara's presence in his mind steadied him. They walked with purpose, their movements perfectly synchronized. From the Galactic Alliance shuttle, a tall, blue-skinned figure emerged. Ambassador Jornak, his four eyes blinking rapidly as he assessed the situation, strode towards the center of the gathering. His voice, amplified by a small device on his collar, rang out across the clearing. "Representatives of Earth, Shindy, and Vroktar, we stand at a crossroads of galactic history. I propose an immediate conference to address these unprecedented events." The next few hours passed in a flurry of activity. A nearby clearing was quickly transformed into a makeshift conference area. Portable hollow projectors were set up, creating shimmering screens and display areas. Beings from different worlds mingled, their conversations a cacophony of languages and translators. Dr. Summers and Dr. Jenkins wasted no time in presenting their findings. They stood before a diverse audience, gesturing to complex holographic models of DNA strands and protein structures. The stabilized human-Shindy bonding process, Dr. Summers explained, her eyes alight with excitement, represents a breakthrough in interspecies genetics. Michael and Zara are living proof of its potential. As if on cue, Michael and Zara stepped forward. The gathered representatives leaned in, their attention fixed on the glowing patterns that pulsed across the couple's skin. Dr. Jenkins continued, "These patterns are not mere decoration. They represent a complex network of enhanced neural pathways and energy conduits. The implications for medicine, communication, and even space exploration are staggering." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Earth's military leaders exchanged worried glances, their faces etched with concern. General Hawthorne, a stern-faced man with graying hair, stood up. "While the scientific achievements are impressive, we cannot ignore the security implications. Such abilities could be exploited for espionage or warfare. How can we ensure this technology won't fall into the wrong hands?" Before Dr. Summers could respond, Captain Harper stepped forward. His face, once gaunt and pallid, now looked healthy and alert. "I can speak to the dangers of uncontrolled bonding," he said, his voice steady. "I experienced it firsthand, and I can assure you, it's not something to be taken lightly. But with proper research and safeguards, the benefits far outweigh the risks." As the discussions continued, Michael and Zara found themselves at the center of attention. They fielded questions from curious scientists and wary military personnel alike. But it was during a conversation with a skeptical Vroktar representative that they made a startling discovery. As Michael reached out to shake the Vroktar's hand, a spark of energy passed between them. Suddenly, the alien's eyes widened in surprise. I can see through your eyes," he gasped. Zara stepped forward, placing her hand on the Vroktar's shoulder. The alien's surprise turned to wonder as he experienced the full extent of their shared senses. Word of this new ability spread quickly through the conference. Soon, key representatives were lining up to experience the bond firsthand. Each touch, each shared moment of perception, did more to sway opinions than hours of debate and discussion. Ambassador Jornak, seeing the positive response, seized the moment. "I propose the establishment of a neutral research facility on an uninhabited planet," he announced. "There, we can continue to study and develop this technology in a controlled environment, away from populated areas." The proposal was met with nods of approval from various factions. Even General Hawthorne grudgingly agreed, seeing the potential benefits of having the research conducted under close observation. As the conference progressed, Michael and Zara found themselves increasingly at the center of galactic politics. They shared looks of both excitement and trepidation, their bond humming with a mix of emotions. Commander Talon, who had been quietly observing the proceedings, approached them during a brief recess. "I must admit," he said, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully, "I was skeptical at first, but seeing the potential applications for Shindy society, it's revolutionary." He lowered his voice, leaning in closer. "I'm considering proposing a pilot program for controlled bonding between Shindy individuals. Enhancing our natural abilities could be the key to solving many of our species' challenges." As Michael and Zara pondered the implications of Talon's words, they noticed a group of Vroktar representatives huddled in deep discussion. Though they couldn't hear the words, the intensity of the aliens' gestures suggested they were formulating their own plans regarding the bonding technology. The conference was interrupted by an urgent message from Earth. Holographic screens flickered to life, showing scenes of protests and demonstrations in major cities across the globe. Some crowds carried signs supporting closer ties with the Shindi, while others demanded isolation and caution. Ambassador Jornak's expression turned grave. "We must address this public concern," he said, turning to Michael and Zara. "Would you be willing to participate in a controlled public demonstration of your abilities?" A live, globally broadcast event could go a long way toward fostering understanding and acceptance. Michael and Zara exchanged a look, their bond pulsing with a mix of grit and apprehension. They knew that such a demonstration could change the course of human-Shindi relations forever. With a shared nod, they turned back to the ambassador. "We'll do it," Michael said, his voice steady. As preparations for the public demonstration began, the air buzzed with anticipation. Security teams swarmed the area, setting up advanced scanning technology to monitor the event. Media crews from various worlds arrived, their equipment creating a forest of cameras and holographic projectors. In the midst of the chaos, Michael and Zara found a moment of quiet. They stood at the edge of the clearing, looking out at the gathered forces of multiple worlds. "Are you ready for this?" Michael asked, his thoughts reaching out to Zara through their bond. Zara's response came not in words, but in a wave of emotion, purpose, hope, and a deep sense of unity. As they turned to face the challenges ahead, the patterns on their skin glowed brighter, a visible manifestation of their unbreakable connection. The stage was set. The eyes of the galaxy were upon them. And as Michael and Zara stepped forward to take their places for the demonstration, they knew that whatever happened next would shape the future of interstellar relations for generations to come. Come. As the final preparations for the public demonstration were underway, Michael and Zara found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of activity. The large open-air stadium on Earth buzzed with anticipation, its usual sports field transformed into a high-tech showcase of interstellar diplomacy. Security personnel swarmed the area, their uniforms a mix of Earth's military green and the iridescent scales of Shindi peacekeepers. Holographic projectors hummed to life, creating shimmering displays that floated above the stadium seats. In the sky, Vroktar ships hovered at a respectful distance, their sleek forms a reminder of the galactic attention focused on this event. Michael took a deep breath, his hand instinctively seeking Zara's. Through their bond, he felt her steady presence, a calm center in the storm of activity around them. "Ready?" he asked, both aloud and through their mental link. Zara's mandibles clicked softly, her version of a reassuring smile. "Together," she replied, the word carrying layers of meaning through their connection. As they stepped onto the stage, the roar of the crowd washed over them. Thousands of faces looked down from the stands, while billions more watched via holographic feeds across Earth, Zendoria, and beyond. Michael felt a momentary surge of vertigo at the scale of their audience, but Zara's presence anchored him. Ambassador Jornak strode to the center of the stage, his blue skin shimmering under the stadium lights. His voice, amplified by hidden speakers, echoed across the arena. "People of Earth, Zendoria, and the Galactic Alliance," he began, his four eyes blinking in sequence. "Today, we witness the dawn of a new era in interspecies cooperation." As Jornak spoke, Michael scanned the crowd. He spotted Dr. Summers and Dr. Jenkins near the front, their faces a mix of pride and nervous anticipation. Captain Harper stood with them, his posture rigid but his eyes clear and alert. Commander Tillone hovered nearby, his wings folded tightly against his back in a show of respect for Earth customs. After Jornak's introduction, Dr. Summers took the stage. With practiced ease, she activated a holographic display, showing simplified models of human and Shindi DNA. "The bonding process," she explained, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the occasion, "creates a unique hybrid genome. This fusion allows for enhanced physical and mental capabilities, as well as a deepened connection between the bonded individuals." As she spoke, the DNA models merged, forming a new, more complex strand. The crowd murmured in fascination. Dr. Jenkins stepped forward, gesturing to Michael and Zara. And now, a demonstration of these enhanced abilities. Michael and Zara moved to the center of the stage. They began with a display of physical prowess, their movements perfectly synchronized. They leaped, spun, and performed acrobatic feats that left the audience gasping. Their skin patterns glowed brightly, pulsing in time with their exertions. Next, they showcased their shared sensory perception. Zara was blindfolded, while Michael described objects held up by audience members. Without fail, Zara identified each item, her accuracy drawing amazed applause. As the demonstration continued, Michael felt a shift in their bond. The familiar warmth of their connection intensified, becoming a surging current of energy. He glanced at Zara, seeing his own surprise mirrored in her compound eyes. Suddenly, their bioluminescent patterns flared with blinding brightness. The energy field they generated expanded rapidly, enveloping the entire stadium in a shimmering dome. Gasps and cries of alarm rose from the crowd, quickly replaced by exclamations of wonder. "I can see colors I've never seen before," a woman in the front row exclaimed. "The music. It's like I can feel it in my bones," another spectator marveled, referring to the background soundtrack that had been playing softly. Michael and Zara stood at the center of the phenomenon, their minds reeling from the intensity of their connection. Through their shared senses, they experienced the awe and exhilaration of thousands of minds touched by their energy field. The moment of wonder was short-lived. Alarms blared as Earth's military, caught off guard by this display of power, moved to intervene. Soldiers in powered armor suits began to advance on the stage, weapons at the ready. Commander Talone, his tactical mind quickly assessing the situation, sprang into action. His wings snapped open as he launched himself into the air, positioning himself between the advancing soldiers and the stage. "Stand down," he called, his voice amplified by his suit speakers. "This is not an attack. Maintain your positions and await further instructions." As Talone worked to defuse the situation, Dr. Summers rushed to Michael and Zara's side. She pulled out a modified injector, loaded with a new version of the stabilizing serum. "Michael, Zara," she called, her voice strained with urgency. "Can you hear me? We need to stabilize your condition." But before she could administer the serum, Captain Harper stepped forward. His eyes gleamed with recognition, his own experiences with uncontrolled bonding giving him unique insight. "Wait," he said, holding up a hand to stop Dr. Summers. "I think I can help." Harper approached Michael and Zara, his movements slow and deliberate. As he reached out to touch them, a spark of energy leaped between them. Harper gasped, momentarily overwhelmed by the intensity of the bond. But then, drawing on his own experiences, he began to act as a conduit. The erratic energy flowing through Michael and Zara found a new path, cycling through Harper and becoming more controlled. Gradually, the intensity of the energy field began to diminish. The blinding glow of Michael and Zara's patterns faded to a steady, pulsing light. The shimmering dome over the stadium flickered and disappeared, leaving behind a residual tingling sensation among the spectators. As Michael and Zara regained control, they looked out at the crowd. Instead of the fear and panic they had expected, they saw faces filled with awe and excitement. Many spectators were talking animatedly, describing the sensations they had experienced during the phenomenon. Ambassador Jornak, quick to seize the moment, stepped forward once again. "What we have witnessed today," he announced, his voice ringing with conviction, "is the true potential of human Shindy bonding. This power, properly harnessed and controlled, could usher in a new age of exploration and understanding." As the audience erupted in applause, Michael and Zara exchanged a look of relief and wonder. Their bond hummed with a new depth of connection, the shared experience having brought them closer than ever before. But even as the immediate crisis passed, new challenges loomed on the horizon. Reports were already coming in of unauthorized bonding attempts around the world. And high above the stadium, a Vroktar ship descended from orbit, carrying a delegation eager to be part of this new chapter in galactic history. Michael and Zara stood hand in hand, their patterns glowing softly in the fading light of day. They had overcome one hurdle, but the journey ahead promised to be filled with even greater challenges and discoveries. Opportunities. As they watched the Vroktar ship descend, Michael and Zara felt a surge of anticipation through their bond. "Looks like we're about to have some company," Michael said, his eyes fixed on the approaching vessel. Zara's antennae twitched, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Indeed, this changes everything. Before they could discuss further, Ambassador Jornak approached, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in excitement. "Michael, Zara, your presence is requested immediately. We're moving the talks to a more secure location." Within hours, they found themselves aboard a shuttle, ascending through Earth's atmosphere. The curve of the planet grew more pronounced as they approached the International Space Station, now a bustling hub of interspecies diplomacy. As they docked, Michael marveled at the sight of the Vroktar ship, its sleek, biomechanical design a stark contrast to the angular human architecture. They were escorted to a newly constructed module, where a team of human, Shindi, and Vroktar scientists awaited them. Dr. Krelnax, the lead Vroktar scientist, stepped forward. His translucent skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, not unlike those Michael and Zara now shared. "Welcome," he said, his voice a melodious hum. "We have much to discuss." The next few hours were a whirlwind of scientific explanations and diplomatic negotiations. Dr. Krelnax unveiled plans for an advanced bonding chamber, a marvel of Vroktar technology that promised to revolutionize the hybridization process. "This chamber," Dr. Krelnax explained, manipulating a holographic display, "will allow us to fine-tune the bonding process, minimizing risks and maximizing potential benefits." As the scientists delved into the technical details, Michael's attention was drawn to a flurry of activity on one of the station's communication panels. Dr. Summers' face appeared, her expression grave. "We have a situation planet-side," she reported. "Unauthorized bonding attempts are spreading like wildfire. We're seeing cases in major cities across the globe." Commander Talone, who had accompanied them to the station, immediately took charge. "I'll coordinate with Earth's authorities to deploy our emergency response teams," he said, his wings twitching with urgency. Michael and Zara exchanged a worried glance. Through their bond, they shared a moment of guilt. Their public demonstration had inadvertently sparked this crisis. "We need to do something," Zara said, her mandibles clicking in agitation. Dr. Jenkins, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. "Actually, you can help us the most by staying here," he said. "We need to understand more about your unique physiology. It could be the key to solving this crisis." Over the next few days, Michael and Zara underwent a battery of tests in the Vroktar bonding chamber. The experience was intense, pushing the limits of their hybrid abilities. They emerged from each session exhausted but exhilarated, their bond humming with newfound energy. During a rare moment of respite, they stood before the station's observation window, gazing down at the Earth below. News reports filtered in, describing the implementation of strict regulations on human-Shindi interactions. "I never imagined it would come to this," Michael said, his hand intertwined with Zara's. Zara's response came through their bond, a mixture of concern and drive. They both knew that their journey was nowhere near the end. Their contemplation was interrupted by the arrival of Captain Jack Harper, his face lined with the strain of recent events, but his eyes bright with purpose. "I have a proposal," he said, gesturing for them to follow him to a secure briefing room. As they settled into their seats, Harper activated a holographic display. "We're forming a specialized hybrid task force," he explained, "and we want you two to be part of it." The display showed simulations of human-Shindi pairs working in various crisis scenarios, their hybrid abilities allowing them to accomplish feats impossible for either species alone. As Michael and Zara considered the proposal, alarms blared throughout the station. Dr. Krelnax burst into the room, his skin flashing with urgent patterns. "We've detected an anomaly," he announced, pulling up a star chart. "A Vroktar scout ship has found something extraordinary." The chart zoomed in on a remote sector of space, where a pulsating energy signature glowed ominously. Dr. Krelnax's voice dropped to a reverent whisper. "We believe it's related to ancient Shindi technology. Something powerful enough to reshape the balance of power in this sector of the galaxy." Michael and Zara stood, their patterns glowing in unison as they processed this new development. They knew that whatever lay ahead would test not only their abilities, but also the fragile alliance between their species. As the station erupted into a flurry of activity, preparations already underway for an expedition to investigate the anomaly, Michael and Zara shared a moment of quiet grit. Their journey had taken them from Earth to the stars, and now it seemed the universe itself was calling them to a new adventure. But as they turned to face the gathered officials and scientists, a priority message flashed across the station's main communications screen. "Incoming transmission from Zendoria," announced the communications officer, her voice tinged with surprise. "It's Queen Mina herself." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the regal form of Queen Mina, her bioluminescent patterns shimmering with an intensity that commanded attention. Her four eyes focused on Michael and Zara, a mixture of curiosity and drive evident in her gaze. "Greetings, Earth Station," Queen Mina began, her melodious voice carrying a note of urgency. "I request the immediate presence of Michael and Zara on Zendoria. As you may know, I have announced my intention to undergo the bonding process with a human partner. Your expertise in this matter is invaluable to me." The station erupted into a flurry of activity as officials scrambled to adjust their plans. Ambassador Jornak stepped forward, his antennae twitching with excitement. "Your Majesty, we would be honored to comply with your request." However, Michael and Zara were scheduled for important public appearances on Earth. Queen Mina's expression remained resolute. "I understand the importance of those appearances, Ambassador, but I believe this consultation could have far-reaching implications for both our species. I ask that you prioritize this meeting." After a brief but intense discussion among the Earth and Galactic Alliance representatives, a decision was reached. Michael and Zara found themselves ushered onto a high-speed shuttle bound for Zendoria, their minds reeling from the sudden change in plans. As they approached the Zendorian royal palace, Michael marveled at its organic architecture, a living structure that pulsed with bioluminescent energy. Zara, sensing his awe through their bond, shared a feeling of pride in her homeworld's beauty. They were escorted through winding corridors to a secure chamber deep within the palace. Queen Mina awaited them, her presence filling the room with an almost tangible energy. Her bioluminescent patterns, more intricate and vibrant than any they had seen before, shifted in mesmerizing waves across her exoskeleton. "Welcome, Michael and Zara." Queen Mina greeted them, her voice a harmonious blend of tones. "I appreciate your swift response to my request." As they settled into the meeting, Queen Mina's questions focused intently on the physical aspects of human Shindi bonding. Her gaze lingered on Michael's altered physiology, noting the faint luminescent patterns that now adorned his skin. "Tell me, Michael," she inquired, leaning forward with interest, "how has the bonding process affected your reproductive capabilities? Is there a possibility of hybrid offspring?" Michael felt a flush of heat rise to his cheeks, but he answered honestly, drawing on the research conducted by Dr. Summers and Dr. Jenkins. "The changes are significant, Your Majesty. My genetic structure has been altered to be more compatible with Shindi physiology. While we haven't yet attempted conception, the theoretical possibility exists," Zara added, her antennae twitching slightly, The biological compatibility between our species has proven to be more adaptable than initially thought. Our bodies have found ways to bridge the gaps, so to speak. As they delved deeper into the intricacies of human Shindy biology, a piercing alarm suddenly blared throughout the palace. The chamber's doors burst open as security forces rushed in, their exoskeletons gleaming with battle-ready bioluminescence. "Your Majesty," the lead guard reported, mandibles clicking with urgency, "we have a security breach. Extremists opposed to hybridization have infiltrated the palace defenses." Queen Mina rose, her patterns flashing with alarm and commitment. "We must move to a secure location immediately." Michael and Zara exchanged a quick glance, their bond humming with shared perseverance. "Your Majesty," Michael offered, "we can help. Our enhanced abilities could be useful in this situation." The Queen assessed them for a brief moment before nodding. "Very well. Work with our security forces. Your unique perspectives may prove invaluable." As they moved through the palace corridors, Michael and Zara fell into a seamless rhythm. Their shared sensory perception allowed them to anticipate the attackers' movements, guiding the Zendorian guards to intercept threats before they materialized. During one particularly intense skirmish, Michael noticed something odd about the weapons the extremists wielded. "Zara," he communicated through their bond, "those energy signatures. They look Vroktar." Zara's compound eyes widened in recognition. "You're right. But how did Zendorian extremists get their hands on Vroktar technology?" They had no time to ponder this revelation as the attack intensified. Queen Mina was quickly ushered into a secure bunker deep beneath the palace, with Michael and Zara accompanying her as additional protection. In the close confines of the bunker, Queen Mina watched with fascination as Michael and Zara moved in perfect synchronization, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing in harmony. Their unspoken communication and flawless coordination seemed to resonate with something deep within her. "I've made my decision," Queen Mina announced suddenly, her voice cutting through the tension. "I will proceed with the bonding immediately." Before Michael and Zara could respond, a section of the bunker wall slid open, revealing a transport tube. From it emerged a familiar figure, Captain Jack Harper. "Your Majesty," Harper said, bowing slightly. "I'm ready when you are." Michael and Zara stared in shock as the realization dawned on them. Queen Mina had already chosen her human partner for bonding, and it was none other than the experienced Captain Harper. "The palace is under siege," Queen Mina stated, her patterns flashing with commitment. "What better time to demonstrate the strength of human Shindy unity? Michael, Zara, I need your guidance to complete this bonding." As the sounds of battle echoed from above, Michael and Zara prepared to guide Queen Mina and Captain Harper through an accelerated bonding process. They created an energy field similar to their own, hoping to provide a stable environment for this unprecedented royal bonding. The air in the bunker crackled with tension and possibility as Queen Mina and Captain Harper began the initial stages of their connection. Their bodies started to emit a soft glow, mimicking the patterns that now adorned Michael and Zara. Above them, the battle for the palace raged on, the fate of human Shindy relations hanging in the balance as an extraordinary union took shape in the depths of Zendoria. The depths of Zendoria's royal palace raged with possibility. As the energy field surrounding Queen Mina and Captain Harper intensified, Michael and Zara monitored the process closely, their own bodies resonating with the familiar sensations of bonding. The air crackled with bioluminescent patterns, casting an otherworldly glow throughout the bunker. "Their physiological responses are aligning," Zara observed, her compound eyes tracking the minute changes in the bonding pair's vital signs. Michael nodded, feeling the surge of shared consciousness through his link with Zara. "It's happening faster than ours did. The Queen's unique biology must be accelerating the process." Suddenly, a burst of energy pulsed through the room, causing the lights to flicker. Queen Mina and Captain Harper gasped in unison, their bodies lifting slightly off the ground as the final stage of bonding took hold. As the energy dissipated, the newly bonded pair slowly opened their eyes, now shimmering with a shared iridescence. Queen Mina's voice, when she spoke, carried a new depth and resonance. "It is done. We are one." The implications of this moment reverberated far beyond the confines of the bunker. In the weeks that followed, news of the Queen's bonding with a human spread rapidly across both Zendoria and Earth, igniting a fervor of public interest in hybridization. Michael and Zara found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of activity. Queen Mina, recognizing their unique position as pioneers of human Shindi hybridization, appointed them as official ambassadors for an upcoming galactic summit on Zendoria. "Your experience will be invaluable," Queen Mina told them during a private audience. Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed with newfound vigor as Captain Harper stood by her side, their movements perfectly synchronized. "We need you to help bridge the gap between species, to show the galaxy the potential of what we've achieved." The following days blurred into a frenzy of preparation. Michael and Zara worked tirelessly with Dr. Summers and Dr. Jenkins, compiling data on the bonding process and its effects. They underwent a series of rigorous medical examinations, their bodies scrutinized for every minute change in their hybrid physiology. "Fascinating," Dr. Jenkins muttered, peering at a holographic display of Michael's cellular structure. "The integration of Shindi DNA continues to evolve. Your body is adapting in ways we never anticipated." As the date of the summit approached, Michael and Zara found themselves greeting a parade of alien dignitaries arriving on Zendoria. Each encounter presented a new challenge, testing their ability to bridge vast cultural divides. During one such meeting, they were introduced to Ambassador Zelthor the Vroktar, a tall, imposing figure with skin that seemed to shift and ripple like liquid metal. His voice, when he spoke, resonated with a strange, multi-tonal quality. "I've been most eager to meet you both," Zelthor said, his eyes, devoid of pupils, fixed intently on Michael and Zara. "The Vroktar have been following your progress with great interest. Perhaps we might speak privately?" In a secluded chamber of the royal palace, Zelthor revealed the true purpose of his early arrival. "We've detected unusual energy signatures in a remote sector of space," he explained, activating a holographic star map. "Our analysis suggests a connection to ancient Shindi technology. We believe this could be significant." Michael and Zara exchanged glances, their shared consciousness buzzing with curiosity and caution. "What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador?" Michael asked. Zelthor's liquid metal skin rippled with what might have been excitement. "A joint expedition to investigate the source. Imagine the possibilities if we could unlock the secrets of early hybridization technology." Before they could delve deeper into Zelthor's proposal, an aide burst into the room, his antennae twitching with urgency. "Ambassadors, you're needed immediately. Queen Mina is. There's been a development." They rushed to the Queen's private medical suite, finding it in a state of controlled chaos. Dr. Summers and Dr. Jenkins huddled around a bioscanner, their faces etched with concern. Captain Harper paced nearby, his newly acquired bioluminescent patterns flashing erratically. Queen Mina lay on an examination table, her exoskeleton pulsing with intense, rapidly shifting colors. Dr. Summers looked up as Michael and Zara entered. "Her hybrid physiology is evolving at an accelerated rate. We've never seen anything like this." As they absorbed this news, a commotion arose from the communication hub adjacent to the medical suite. Commander Talon burst in, his wings twitching with agitation. "We're receiving an urgent transmission from Earth. It's General Marcus Steele of the Human Defense Force. He's making accusations against the Vroktar." The room fell silent as the holographic image of General Steele materialized. His face was stern, his voice carrying the weight of authority and nearly unleashed anger. "We have intelligence suggesting the Vroktar are secretly developing weapons based on hybrid energy signatures. I demand an immediate halt to all hybridization research. If our concerns are not addressed, Earth will have no choice but to withdraw from the Galactic Alliance. As the general's image flickered out, the implications of his words hung heavy in the air. Michael and Zara shared a moment of silent communication, their bond humming with the weight of the challenge before them. They knew that the next few hours would be critical, not just for the summit, but for the future of human-Shindy relations and the stability of the entire galactic community. The medical suite erupted into a flurry of activity as Queen Mina struggled to sit up, her voice strained but commanding. "We cannot let this derail everything we've worked for. Michael, Zara, you must lead this effort," Queen Mina said, her voice growing stronger as she spoke. "Your unique abilities and perspective are crucial for what lies ahead." Michael and Zara exchanged a glance, their bond humming with shared purpose. They nodded in unison, accepting the weight of responsibility placed upon them. In the following hours, a flurry of activity consumed the palace. Michael and Zara found themselves in a secure chamber with Queen Mina, Captain Harper, and a holographic projection of Ambassador Zelthor. The air was thick with tension as they discussed the Vroktar proposal and General Steele's accusations. After careful deliberation, Queen Mina made her decision. "We will support the joint expedition," she announced, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with determination. "It's our best chance to uncover the truth and maintain galactic stability." The news of their decision spread quickly, temporarily easing tensions between Earth, Zendoria, and the Vroktar. Preparations for the expedition began immediately, with Michael and Zara at the forefront. A state-of-the-art research vessel, christened Unity, was commissioned for the mission. Michael watched in awe as the ship took shape in Zendoria's orbital shipyards, its sleek hull incorporating technology from all participating species. "It's incredible," Zara said, her compound eyes reflecting the shimmering metal of the ship's exterior. "I never imagined we'd be part of something like this." Their training was intense and comprehensive. Michael found himself immersed in courses on space exploration and xenoarchaeology, his mind expanding to accommodate vast new realms of knowledge. He and Zara spent hours in simulated environments, honing their ability to adapt to different gravitational fields and atmospheric conditions. As the launch date approached, they received word of General Steele's attempts to block Earth's participation. Michael felt a surge of frustration, but it was quickly tempered by news of a coalition of Earth governments and scientific institutions overruling Steele's objections. The day of the launch arrived with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Michael stood on the bridge of the Unity, his hand intertwined with Zara's as they watched Zendoria grow smaller in the view screen. "Course plotted and locked in," the navigation officer announced. "All systems are go." Michael felt a subtle shift as the ship's engines engaged, propelling them into the vastness of space. He noticed with surprise that the ship system seemed to respond to his and Zara's presence, the controls becoming more responsive under their touch. As they traveled deeper into uncharted space, the crew discovered the full extent of Michael and Zara's influence on the ship. During a particularly challenging navigation through an asteroid field, Michael found himself instinctively guiding the ship with unprecedented precision. "How did you do that?" Captain Harper asked, his eyes wide with amazement. Michael shook his head, equally surprised. "I'm not sure. It's like the ship is an extension of our bodies." Weeks into their journey, the Unity encountered an uncharted nebula that interfered with their long-range sensors. As alarms blared and the crew scrambled to adjust their course, Michael and Zara stepped forward. "We can guide us through," Zara said, her antennae twitching with concentration. Together, they placed their hands on the navigation console. The ship responded instantly, its movements becoming fluid and graceful as it wove through the cosmic phenomenon. The crew watched in awe as the nebula's swirling gases parted before them, revealing a clear path. As they emerged on the other side, a cheer erupted on the bridge. Michael felt a surge of pride and connection with the diverse crew members surrounding them. Their elation was short-lived, however, as they approached the coordinates provided by the Vroktar. The ship's sensors detected an ancient space station of unknown origin, its architecture a bewildering fusion of Shindi and unfamiliar technologies. Energy readings are off the charts, the science officer reported, her voice tight with excitement and apprehension. As the Unity drew closer to the station, Michael felt a strange resonance within his hybrid physiology. He turned to Zara, seeing the same recognition in her compound eyes. Suddenly, the station pulsed with blinding light. A wave of energy washed over the ship, causing systems to fail and alarms to blare. Without thinking, Michael and Zara raised their hands, creating a shimmering energy field that enveloped the bridge. In the chaos that followed, as the crew worked to restore power, Michael and Zara found themselves at the center of a new challenge. They were no longer just ambassadors or scientists. They had become the key to unlocking the mysteries that lay before them, and perhaps the only hope for navigating the dangerous waters of interstellar politics that swirled around their discovery. As the Unity hung in space before the ancient station, Michael took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. The true test of their abilities and the future of human-Shindi relations was about to begin. The true test of their abilities and the future of human-Shindi relations was about to unfold in ways none of them could have anticipated. As Michael and Zara lowered their hands, the shimmering energy field dissipated, revealing the chaos on the bridge. Alarms blared, and crew members scrambled to restore power to the failing systems. The ancient station's energy pulse had wreaked havoc on the Unity's delicate hybrid technology. Status report. Captain Harper barked, his newly acquired bioluminescent patterns flashing erratically. Multiple systems are offline, the science officer responded, her fingers flying over her console. We're running on emergency power. Michael felt a strange tingling sensation coursing through his body, his hybrid physiology reacting to the energy burst. He glanced at Zara, noticing her antennae twitching rapidly. "Are you feeling this?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Zara nodded, her compound eyes widening. "It's like our bodies are trying to adapt." Before they could discuss further, the tactical officer's voice cut through the commotion. "Captain, we've got multiple vessels approaching fast." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing an unsettling sight. A fleet of sleek, angular ships was rapidly closing in on their position. Their design was unlike anything Michael had ever seen, with hull plating that seemed to shimmer and shift in the starlight. "More company," Captain Harper muttered. "Hail them." The communications officer shook her head. "No response, Sir Waite. We're receiving a transmission from Earth?" The bridge fell silent as the stern face of General Marcus Steele materialized on the screen. His eyes narrowed as he took in the scene before him. "This is General Steele of the Human Defense Force. You will power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Any artifacts or data obtained from that station are now the property of Earth." Captain Harper stepped forward, his heart made. "General Steele, this is an authorized joint expedition. We have no intention of dash." The transmission cut off abruptly as the ship rocked violently. The unidentified fleet had opened fire. "Shields at 60% and falling," the tactical officer shouted. Michael and Zara exchanged a glance, their shared consciousness buzzing with alarm. Without thinking, they moved in unison towards the navigation console. "What are you doing?" Captain Harper demanded. "We can help," Michael replied, his hands hovering over the controls. "The ship. It's responding to us." As their fingers touched the console, a surge of energy coursed through the ship's systems. Displays flickered and came back online, pulsing with a new intensity. Dr. Liravan, who had been quietly analyzing data in the corner, suddenly looked up. "Captain, the hybrid systems are adapting to the ancient energy signature. Michael and Zara are acting as conduits." Captain Harper's expression shifted from confusion to commitment. "Can you use this to get us out of here?" Michael felt a strange certainty wash over him. "We can try to create a wormhole," he said, the words coming from a place of instinct rather than knowledge. "Do it," Captain Harper ordered, his military training kicking in. "All hands, brace for emergency maneuvers." As Michael and Zara focused their efforts on the navigation system, the Unity's engines thrummed with newfound power. The ship's hull vibrated as it channeled the ancient energy, creating distortions in the fabric of space-time. Outside, the attacking vessels intensified their assault. The Unity's shields flickered dangerously as it absorbed hit after hit. "Shields at 30%, the tactical officer warned. Michael felt sweat beading on his forehead as he strained to control the massive energies flowing through him and Zara. Their bioluminescent patterns pulsed in perfect synchronization with the ship systems. Suddenly, a swirling vortex of energy materialized before the Unity. The wormhole's maw gaped wide, offering an escape from the onslaught. "Hold on!" Captain Harper shouted as he initiated the forward thrusters. The Unity plunged into the wormhole just as its shields failed. The ship shuddered violently as it was pulled into the swirling tunnel of energy. Michael and Zara gritted their teeth, fighting to maintain control as reality itself seemed to twist and warp around them. For what felt like an eternity, the Unity tumbled through the chaotic passage. Then, with a final lurch, they burst back into normal space. "Report," Captain Harper demanded, steadying himself against his chair. The science officer's voice was filled with awe. "Sir, we're in uncharted space. No known star systems on long-range sensors." As the crew worked to stabilize the ship systems, a new alert sounded. The tactical officer's eyes widened as she read the incoming data. "Captain, we're detecting a planet nearby. Atmosphere and gravity similar to Earth and Zendoria." Michael and Zara, exhausted from their ordeal, shared a look of relief. They had escaped immediate danger, but as they gazed at the approaching planet on the screen, they knew their journey was nowhere near the end. The Unity, battered but unbroken, limped towards a mysterious world. As they drew closer, the ship's sensors detected faint energy signatures on the surface, eerily similar to those emitted by the ancient space station. Captain Harper's voice cut through the tension on the bridge. "Take us in for a landing. Whatever secrets this planet holds, we're about to find out." As the Unity began its descent, Michael felt a familiar tingling sensation coursing through his body. He glanced at Zara, seeing the same recognition in her eyes. The hybrid energy within them was reacting to something on the planet's surface, and they both knew that their greatest challenges, and perhaps the answers they sought, lay waiting on the alien world below. As the Unity touched down on the alien world, Michael felt a surge of anticipation coursing through his hybrid physiology. The planet's surface, visible through the view screen, was a tapestry of unfamiliar terrain. Rolling hills covered in violet vegetation and jagged mountain ranges that seemed to pierce the sky. "Atmospheric readings are stable," reported the science officer. "Gravity at 1 Earth standard." Captain Harper nodded, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with a mix of caution and excitement. "All right, let's establish a perimeter and set up base camp. Dr. Liravan, I want you working on those long-range communications. We need to know if we've been followed." As the crew disembarked, Michael and Zara found themselves at the center of a flurry of activity. Temporary shelters sprung up around the Unity, and research stations were quickly assembled to analyze the wealth of data from their crash landing. "Michael, Zara," called Dr. Liravan, her antennae twitching with nervous energy. "I need you both at the primary sensor array. Your hybrid signatures might help boost our signal strength. As they approached the makeshift communications center, Michael felt a familiar tingling sensation. He glanced at Zara, seeing the same recognition in her compound eyes. Their abilities were fluctuating again, responding to something in their new environment. Dr. Liravan's fingers flew over the controls, her brow furrowed in concentration. Suddenly, the array sparked to life, emitting a low hum. "It's working," she exclaimed. "We're picking up faint signals." "Wait, this can't be right." Michael leaned in, studying the readouts. His heart sank as he deciphered the data. Those energy signatures. They're similar to the ones we encountered during our escape. Zara's antennae drooped. Our pursuers. They followed us through the wormhole. Captain Harper's voice crackled over the comms. "Ambassador Zelthor is organizing an expedition to the nearest ruins. Michael, Zara, you're with him. Your hybrid abilities might prove useful." As they set out across the alien landscape, Michael couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The ruins loomed before them, a sprawling complex of weathered structures that seemed to blend organic and technological elements. Ambassador Zelthor led the way, his exoskeleton gleaming in the planet's strange, purple-tinged sunlight. "Fascinating," he murmured, running a sensor over a section of wall. "These materials. I've never seen anything like them." As Michael and Zara approached the entrance, dormant systems suddenly sprang to life. Holographic interfaces materialized, displaying a bewildering array of symbols and diagrams. "It's responding to us," Zara whispered, her compound eyes wide with wonder. They pressed deeper into the ruins, their hybrid physiology seeming to resonate with the ancient technology. Each step triggered new activations, as if the complex itself was slowly awakening from a millennia-long slumber. In a vast chamber near the heart of the ruins, they discovered a series of stasis pods. Most were empty or damaged, their contents long since turned to dust. But one pod remained active, a layer of condensation obscuring its occupant. As Michael and Zara drew near, their hybrid energy signatures triggered the pod's release mechanism. With a hiss of escaping gases, the capsule opened, revealing its perfectly preserved inhabitant. A female figure sat up, her eyes blinking rapidly as she adjusted to the light. Her features were a harmonious blend of human and Shindi characteristics, unmistakably a hybrid like Michael and Zara. "Greetings," she said, her voice a melodic fusion of tones. "I am Ziria. You have awakened me from my long sleep." Before they could respond, a violent tremor shook the chamber. Dust and debris rained down from the ceiling as hidden mechanisms groaned to life. "The planet," Ziria said, her voice urgent. "It's awakening. We must hurry." As they rushed back to the Unity, Michael's mind raced with questions. Who was Ziria? What secrets did she hold? And what ancient power had they inadvertently set in motion? The ground continued to shake beneath their feet as they approached the ship. Captain Harper was waiting for them, his face grim. "We've got company," he said, pointing to the sky. "Multiple ships entering orbit. It's steel." Michael felt a surge of energy coursing through his body. He turned to Zara, seeing the same tenacity in her eyes. Without a word, they stepped forward, their hands outstretched. A shimmering energy field began to form around the planet, growing stronger with each passing second. The strain was immense, but Michael and Zara held firm, their hybrid abilities pushing to new limits. As the first wave of steel ships entered firing range, their weapons impacted harmlessly against the shield. But maintaining the barrier was taking its toll. Michael felt his knees begin to buckle, his vision blurring at the edges. Ziria stepped forward, placing a hand on each of their shoulders. "Let me help," she said, her voice echoing with ancient wisdom. "There is much you still need to learn about your true potential." As Ziria's energy merged with theirs, Michael felt a new surge of power. The shield strengthened, pushing back against the assault from above. But even as they celebrated the small victory, he knew that greater challenges lay ahead. The awakening planet rumbled beneath them, its long-dormant systems surging back to life. And somewhere above, beyond the protective barrier they had erected, General Steele's forces regrouped, preparing for their next assault. Michael exchanged a look with Zara and Ziria. They had bought themselves some time, but the true test of their abilities and the fate of this mysterious world was only just beginning. Michael and Zara's connection to the planet deepened as Ziria guided them through the intricacies of their newfound abilities. The ground beneath their feet trembled, a constant reminder of the awakening world around them. "We need to understand more about this planet's systems," Captain Harper said, his voice tight with urgency. "Can you access any information about its defenses or propulsion?" Before Michael could respond, Dr. Lyravan interrupted, her antennae twitching with excitement. "Captain, I believe I can help accelerate their evolutionary process. It might allow them to interface more effectively with the planet's technology." Harper nodded, his expression grave. "Do it. We need every advantage we can get." As Dr. Lyravan prepared her equipment, Ziria led Michael and Zara towards a hidden entrance in the ruins. "The heart of this world lies beneath," she explained. "It's there that we'll find the answers we seek." The trio descended into a network of ancient tunnels, their path illuminated by the soft glow of bioluminescent organisms clinging to the walls. As they ventured deeper, Michael felt his body changing, adapting to the alien environment. Beside him, Zara's compound eyes shimmered with newfound perception. They emerged into a vast chamber dominated by a colossal crystalline structure, pulsing with energy. Holographic interfaces sprang to life around them, displaying complex schematics of the planet's ship systems. "Place your hands here," Ziria instructed, guiding them to designated panels on the crystal's surface. As their palms made contact, Michael gasped. His consciousness expanded, merging with the planet ship's mainframe. Beside him, Zara's body tensed, her mind equally overwhelmed by the influx of data. On the surface, chaos erupted. The defensive drones activated by Ambassador Zelthor's earlier actions swarmed the expedition team. Captain Harper barked orders, organizing a defensive perimeter around the Unity. Queen Mina's voice crackled over the comms. "Captain, we have multiple hostiles entering orbit. General Steele's forces have arrived." In the makeshift control center, Dr. Lyravan monitored Michael and Zara's vital signs with growing alarm. "Their neural activity is off the charts," she muttered, fingers flying over her equipment. "I need to stabilize them before they suffer permanent damage." Deep within the planet's core, Michael and Zara struggled to process the torrent of information flooding their minds. They saw the planet ship's history unfold before them. Its creation, its long journey across the cosmos, and its eventual dormancy. "Focus." Ziria's voice cut through the chaos. "You must learn to filter the data, to control the flow." With effort, Michael directed his attention to the planet's defensive systems. He felt the planetary shield strengthen, repelling General Steele's initial assault. Beside him, Zara accessed a propulsion array, ready to move the planet ship if necessary. Their expanding awareness allowed them to perceive events across the planet's surface. They saw Ambassador Zelthor attempting to access a secondary control node, triggering a security lockdown that trapped several expedition members, including Dr. Lyravan. Michael projected his consciousness outward, deactivating the rogue defensive drones harassing the surface team. Zara reinforced the planetary shield, neutralizing Steele's orbital bombardment. But the strain of controlling such vast systems took its toll. Michael felt his physical form begin to destabilize, merging with the crystalline structure of the core. Zara's body flickered, her essence blending with the planet ship's energy matrix. Ziria's eyes widened in alarm. "They're losing cohesion," she announced, her fingers dancing across an ancient console. "I'm activating the failsafe." A massive energy surge rippled through the planet ship, overloading key systems. The propulsion array sputtered, and weapons platforms went offline. The entire world shuddered, its orbit beginning to decay. In space, General Steele seized the opportunity presented by the chaos. "All ships, commence full assault," he commanded. "Take control of that planet at any cost." The coalition of alien species, perceiving Steele's actions as a threat to galactic security, moved to intercept. The space around the planet ship erupted in a furious battle, energy weapons lancing through the void. On the surface, Dr. Liravan finally completed her stabilizing agent. "Captain Harper," she called over the comms, "we need to get this to Michael and Zara immediately. Their physiology is breaking down." Harper nodded grimly. "Understood. Queen Mina, we're heading to the core. Can you hold the line up here?" The Shindi Queen's mandibles clicked in affirmation. "We'll buy you as much time as we can. Go!" As Harper and Liravan raced towards the planet's core, Michael and Zara fought to maintain their grip on reality. Their expanded consciousness detected a new threat, the immense gravitational pull of a nearby gas giant. "We're being drawn in." Zara's voice echoed through the planet ship systems. "I can't stabilize our orbit." Michael struggled to reroute power to the propulsion systems, but the damage from the earlier surge was too extensive. The planet ship began its inexorable descent into the gas giant's swirling atmosphere. Captain Harper and Dr. Liravan burst into the core chamber, their eyes widening at the sight of Michael and Zara's bodies partially merged with the crystal structure. "We have to separate them from the interface," Liravan shouted over the growing roar of atmospheric entry. "If we don't, they'll be torn apart along with the planet ship." As Harper and Liravan worked to extract Michael and Zara, the world around them groaned and shuddered. Through the planet ship sensors, they could see General Steele's fleet and the alien coalition breaking off their engagement, unable to pursue them into the gas giant's crushing depths. The race against time intensified as the planet ship plunged deeper into the turbulent atmosphere. Michael and Zara, their consciousnesses still linked to the core, fought to regain control of the vessel systems. But with each passing moment, the gas giant's intense pressures threatened to tear the ancient world apart. Michael felt his consciousness tearing away from the planet ship systems, his physical form reasserting itself with agonizing slowness. Beside him, Zara's essence flickered between corporeal and energy states, her compound eyes wide with the strain of maintaining their tenuous connection to the ancient technology. The chamber shuddered violently, chunks of crystal breaking free from the walls and ceiling. Captain Harper's voice cut through the chaos, barely audible over the groaning of stressed metal and stone. "We need to get them out of here now," he shouted, gesturing to Dr. Liravan. The Andorian scientist rushed forward, her antennae twitching with nervous energy as she approached Michael and Zara. "Hold still," Dr. Liravan instructed, her voice steady despite the pandemonium around them. She pressed a hypospray against Michael's neck, then Zara's, administering the stabilizing agent she had developed. The effect was almost immediate. Michael felt his body solidifying, the overwhelming flood of data from the planet ship systems receding to a manageable level. Zara gasped beside him, her form fully materializing as the drug took effect. "The ship," she said, her voice hoarse. "It's breaking apart." As if in response to her words, a violent tremor rocked the chamber. Ambassador Zelthor, who had been working feverishly at a nearby terminal, stumbled and caught himself against the wall. "I've nearly finished downloading the data," he called out, his exoskeleton gleaming with a sheen of condensation in the humid air. Queen Mina stepped forward, her regal bearing undiminished by the dire circumstances. "We must leave now, Ambassador. The structural integrity of this chamber is failing." No sooner had she spoken than a deafening crack echoed through the room. A fissure opened in the floor, separating the group from the exit. Noxious gases began to seep through, filling the air with an acrid stench. Michael and Zara, still connected to the ship's systems, acted on instinct. They raised their hands in unison, focusing their hybrid abilities on the breach. A shimmering energy field sprang into existence, sealing off the crack and halting the influx of gas. "We can't hold this for long," Michael grunted, sweat beading on his forehead from the effort. Captain Harper surveyed the room, his tactical mind working overtime. "We need a new exit. Zelthor, can you use that terminal to access the ship's schematics?" The ambassador nodded, his fingers flying over the alien interface. "There's an emergency escape pod 2 levels above us. If we can reach it—" His words were cut off as the ship lurched violently. The view screens lining the walls flickered to life, showing the swirling, turbulent atmosphere of the gas giant they were plummeting through. Massive, shadowy shapes moved in the distance, barely visible through the dense clouds. "What are those?" Dr. Liravan asked, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding her fear. "Unknown life forms," Zara replied, her hybrid senses still attuned to the ship's sensors. "They're enormous, and they're moving against the currents." Michael nodded, his mind racing. "We might be able to use them. If we can latch onto one of those creatures, ride its wake." "It's our best chance," Captain Harper agreed. He turned to the group, his voice firm and commanding. "We need to move now. Michael, Zara, can you maintain that energy shield while we make our way to the escape pod?" The hybrid couple exchanged a glance, then nodded in unison. "We'll do our best," Michael said. With a gesture from Michael and Zara, the energy shield expanded, encompassing the entire group. They moved as one, navigating through the crumbling corridors of the dying planet ship. Every few meters, new fissures would open, only to be sealed by the hybrid's protective field. As they ascended, the ship's automated systems initiated their fail-safe protocols. Entire sections began to detach, designed to preserve crucial components in the event of catastrophic failure. The group felt the shift as their section, containing the core chamber, separated from the main structure. "We're on our own now," Queen Mina observed, her compound eyes taking in the changed status displays on the walls. They reached the level housing the escape pod, only to find the corridor blocked by a tangle of debris and sparking circuitry. Ambassador Zelthor stepped forward, his exoskeleton whirring as he engaged its enhanced strength mode. With a grunt of effort, he began clearing a path. Suddenly, a massive impact rocked their section. Through the viewports, they could see one of the gigantic alien life forms brushing against their vessel, its bioluminescent hide pulsing with otherworldly patterns. "That's our ride," Captain Harper declared. "Everyone into the pod now." They piled into the escaped vessel, a sleek craft clearly designed for atmospheric maneuvering. As the airlock sealed behind them, Michael and Zara took positions at the control panel, their hybrid physiologies allowing them to interface directly with the ancient systems. With a lurch, the pod detached from the failing core module. Michael and Zara worked in perfect synchronization, guiding their craft towards the massive alien entity. They extended a tractor beam, latching onto the creature's underbelly. The effect was immediate and violent. The pod was yanked upward, following the graceful but powerful movements of the gas giant's native life form. Through the viewports, they watched as they ascended through layers of multicolored clouds, each more vibrant than the last. Dr. Liravan worked feverishly at a sensor station, recording as much data as possible about their surroundings and the creature propelling them. "This is incredible," she murmured. "An entire ecosystem, thriving in conditions we thought impossible for life." As they neared the upper atmosphere, the sensors began picking up signals from the battle raging in orbit. The situation had deteriorated further, with both General Steele's forces and the alien coalition taking heavy losses. Queen Mina's expression hardened as she absorbed the tactical readouts. "We can't let this continue," she said, her voice filled with willpower. "The technology aboard this ship, the secrets of this world. In the wrong hands, they could destabilize the entire sector." She turned to Michael and Zara, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and grit. "You two have a unique connection to this world's systems. Is there a way we could disable the fleets? Force a ceasefire?" Michael and Zara exchanged a look, their hybrid minds processing the possibilities. "We might be able to generate an electromagnetic pulse," Zara said slowly, "strong enough to disable their ships temporarily. But it would drain our power reserves," Michael added. "We'd be dead in the water, so to speak." Captain Harper considered the options, his expression grim. "It's a risk we'll have to take. Prepare the pulse. We'll time it with our emergence from the atmosphere." As the escape pod breached the final layer of clouds, the battle came into full view. Energy weapons crisscrossed the void, and the debris of destroyed ships filled the area around the gas giant. Michael and Zara focused their abilities, channeling the pod's remaining power into a single, massive electromagnetic burst. The pulse radiated outward, washing over the warring fleets. Ship after ship went dark, their systems overloaded by the sudden surge. The pod itself wasn't spared, its lights flickering out as the last of its energy was expended. In the sudden silence that followed, the occupants of the escape pod found themselves floating in a fragile bubble of safety, surrounded by the swirling clouds of the alien world below and the disabled ships above. Michael and Zara, their bodies pushed to the limit by their ordeal, clung to each other, their breathing ragged. As the initial shock wore off, Captain Harper moved to the communication panel, hoping to establish contact with the immobilized fleets. The fate of the ancient technology, the newfound alien ecosystem, and the delicate balance of power in the sector hung in the balance. Whatever came next would shape the course of galactic history for generations to come. The silence that followed the electromagnetic pulse was deafening, broken only by the labored breathing of the pod's occupants. Michael and Zara, their bodies trembling from exhaustion, clung to each other as the gravity of their situation sank in. The pod drifted aimlessly in the upper atmosphere of the gas giant, its systems dark and unresponsive. Captain Harper's fingers flew over the communication panel, his face a mask of concentration. "Come on," he muttered, willing the device to life. After what felt like an eternity, a faint flicker of light appeared on the console. "We have minimal power," he announced, his voice tight with tension. "I'm broadcasting an emergency signal now." Dr. Liravan moved swiftly to a nearby terminal, her antennae twitching as she assessed the situation. "Life support is holding, but barely. We need to restore power to critical systems immediately." Michael and Zara exchanged a glance, their hybrid physiology allowing them to communicate without words. With a nod, they placed their hands on the pod's control surfaces, channeling what remained of their strength into the ancient technology. A low hum filled the air as systems slowly came back online. Lights flickered to life, casting a pale glow over the faces of the expedition team. "Propulsion is at 10%, Zara reported, her voice strained. "It's not much, but it should keep us from falling back into the lower atmosphere." Ambassador Zelthor moved to assist Dr. Liravan, his exoskeleton whirring as he interfaced with the pod systems. "I'm rerouting power from non-essential functions to life support," he announced. Queen Mina stood watch at the viewport, her compound eyes scanning the swirling clouds around them. The fleets above. "They're still dark," she observed. "Our pulse was more effective than we anticipated." Captain Harper nodded grimly. "Let's hope they're in a listening mood when their systems come back online." He turned his attention back to the communication array, composing a message that would determine the fate of their mission and possibly the entire sector. "This is Captain James Harper of the Earth Alliance," he began, his voice steady despite the circumstances. "We are declaring an immediate ceasefire and requesting emergency assistance. Our expedition has made groundbreaking discoveries about the ecosystem within this gas giant. The data we've collected could revolutionize our understanding of life in extreme environments." As Harper continued his broadcast, Michael and Zara felt a strange sensation coursing through their bodies. The hybrid DNA that had allowed them to interface with the ancient technology was evolving, adapting to their recent ordeal. Zara gasped as a faint blue glow emanated from her fingertips. "Michael, look," she whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. Michael stared at his own hands, watching as the same ethereal light danced across his skin. "What's happening to us?" he asked, his voice a mix of awe and apprehension. Dr. Liravan's scientific curiosity overtook her concern for their dire situation. She approached the couple, scanner in hand. "Fascinating," she murmured. "Your bodies are emitting a low-level energy field. It's interacting with the pod systems in ways I've never seen before." As if in response to the doctor's words, the pod system surged to life. Displays that had been dark moments ago now glowed with vibrant data streams. Michael and Zara found themselves immersed in a sea of information, able to control the vessel's functions with mere thoughts. We can see everything," Michael said, his voice filled with awe. "The pod, the gas giant, the disabled fleets above us. It's all connected." Captain Harper's voice cut through their wonder. "Whatever you two are doing, keep it up. We're getting a response from the fleets." The view screen flickered to life, revealing the faces of both human and alien commanders. General Steele's weathered visage appeared alongside the crystalline features of the alien coalition's leadership. "This is General Steele," the gruff voice crackled through the speakers. "Your pulse knocked out our systems, Harper. I hope you have a damn good explanation for this." Before Harper could respond, the alien leader interjected. "We too demand answers. The technology you've unleashed could destabilize the entire sector." Captain Harper took a deep breath, his years of diplomatic training coming to the fore. "What we've discovered here goes beyond our petty conflicts," he began. "The ecosystem within this gas giant, the ancient technology we've uncovered. It could change everything we thought we knew about life in the universe." As Harper spoke, rescue ships from both factions cautiously approached the drifting pod. Their weapon systems were still offline, a small mercy that allowed cooler heads to prevail. Ambassador Zelthor seized a moment of distraction to slip away from the group. He produced a small data storage device, attempting to transfer the information he had downloaded earlier. His movements, however, did not go unnoticed. Queen Mina's head snapped towards the ambassador, her compound eyes narrowing. "Zelthor," she hissed, her mandibles clicking in anger. "What are you doing?" The ambassador's exoskeleton whirred as he spun to face the Shindi queen. "Securing our future," he replied, his voice cold. "This technology is too powerful to be shared." In a flash, Queen Mina launched herself at Zelthor. The two aliens grappled, their forms a blur of chitin and metal. In the chaos, the data storage device flew from Zelthor's grasp, shattering against the pod's bulkhead. "No!" Zelthor cried out, watching as the stolen data dissipated into nothingness. The commotion drew the attention of the rescue team, which had just begun to board the pod. Human and alien engineers paused in their work, staring at the aftermath of the brief but intense altercation. Captain Harper stepped between the two aliens, his voice firm. "Enough. We're all in this together now. The technology, the discoveries. They belong to all of us." As the rescue operation continued, Michael and Zara's newfound abilities proved invaluable. Their energy field expanded, enveloping the entire pod and stabilizing its systems. The engineers watched in amazement as the hybrid couple interfaced with the ancient technology, guiding the repair efforts with unprecedented precision. "Incredible," one of the alien engineers murmured, watching as Michael and Zara manipulated holographic displays with mere gestures. As the pod was finally stabilized and prepared for transport, a series of signals began to emanate from the gas giant below. Michael and Zara's eyes widened as they processed the incoming data. "Captain," Zara called out, her voice filled with excitement, "we're picking up tracking signals from within the gas giant. It's the other sections of the planet ship." Dr. Liravan rushed to confirm the readings. "She's right," the Andorian scientist exclaimed. "There are multiple artifact caches and data repositories scattered throughout the atmospheric layers." The revelation sent a ripple of excitement through the rescue team. As the pod was carefully maneuvered out of the gas giant's atmosphere, discussions about the potential of these discoveries were already underway. General Steele's face appeared on the main view screen once more. His expression was a mixture of frustration and grudging respect. "Harper," he began, his tone measured, "in light of these developments, I'm proposing a new course of action. A joint human-alien research team to study these artifacts and data. It's clear this is bigger than any one faction." The Alien Coalition's leadership conferred briefly before responding. "We cautiously approve of this proposal," their spokesperson announced. "However, we insist on equal representation and shared access to all findings." As the pod was brought into stable orbit, the expedition team found themselves at the center of a rapidly forming interstellar research initiative. The core module, once part of an ancient planet ship, was about to become the focal point of a new era of scientific discovery and cooperation. Michael and Zara stood hand in hand, their bodies still glowing faintly with their evolved hybrid energy. They watched as ships from once warring factions now worked together to secure the artifact caches from within the gas giant. "What do you think happens now?" Zara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Michael squeezed her hand, his eyes fixed on the swirling planet below. "I don't know," he replied honestly. "But whatever comes next, we'll face it together." As the rescue operation continued and negotiations for the future of the research initiative began in earnest, none of the participants could have anticipated the true magnitude of what they had stumbled upon. Deep within the recovered data, hidden among the secrets of the ancient hybrid civilization, lay a discovery that would soon set them on a course. Path to a new era of interstellar exploration and discovery. As the research teams pored over the recovered data, a startling revelation emerged. "Captain Harper," Dr. Liravan called out, her antennae quivering with excitement. "We've found something extraordinary in the data files." Harper rushed to the Andorian scientist's side, his eyes widening as he took in the holographic display. "Is that what I think it is?" "A star map," Dr. Liravan confirmed, her voice filled with awe. "It appears to indicate the locations of other planet ships and outposts of the ancient hybrid civilization." The news spread quickly through the research base, galvanizing the team into action. Michael and Zara, their bodies still pulsing with the newfound energy, found themselves at the center of the intensifying preparations. "We need to interface with more of the recovered artifacts," Zara said, her fingers dancing over a control panel. "There could be crucial information about navigation systems or life support technologies." Michael nodded, placing his hand on an ornate cylinder. As his palm made contact, lines of pulsing blue energy spread from his fingertips, bringing the artifact to life. "I can sense it," he murmured. "There's so much data here, waiting to be unlocked." Dr. Liravan worked tirelessly alongside the hybrid couple, her scientific expertise proving invaluable in decoding the ancient information. "The level of technological advancement is staggering," she remarked, her eyes never leaving her datapad. "If we can adapt even a fraction of this knowledge, it could revolutionize our approach to long-distance space travel." As the preparations continued, Tensions began to rise. Earth's government, spurred on by General Steele, demanded greater involvement in the expedition planning. The general's gruff voice filled the command center as he addressed Captain Harper via hologram. "This isn't just about scientific discovery anymore, Harper," Steele growled. "We need to ensure the security of any potential assets we might uncover. I'm sending a contingent of our best military personnel to join your team." The announcement sent ripples of unease through the alien coalition members. Ambassador Zelthor, his exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh lights, voiced their concerns. "This expedition must remain a collaborative effort," he insisted. "We cannot allow Earth to claim exclusive rights to these discoveries." As the argument threatened to escalate, Queen Mina stepped forward, her compound eyes reflecting the perseverance in her voice. "We must find a way to work together," she declared. "I propose a compromise. Let us form a truly diverse crew, with representatives from all major factions involved in our research efforts." Her suggestion was met with cautious nods from both sides. Captain Harper, recognizing the wisdom in her words, quickly endorsed the plan. "I agree," he said, his voice carrying the weight of authority. "We'll need the best of all our peoples to make this mission a success." With the compromise in place, the preparations took on a new urgency. The core module, now fully repaired and upgraded, was selected as the primary vessel for the expedition. Engineers from various species worked in harmony, expanding the living quarters and integrating advanced propulsion systems capable of interstellar travel. As the launch date approached, a new face joined the expedition team. Dr. Ilara Vox, a human xenoanthropologist with a reputation for brilliant insights into alien cultures, arrived at the research base. Her keen eyes took in the bustle of activity around her as she made her way to the command center. "Dr. Vox," Captain Harper greeted her warmly. "We're glad to have you on board. Your expertise will be invaluable in interpreting any artifacts we might encounter." The xenoanthropologist nodded, her gaze already drawn to Michael and Zara. "And these must be our hybrid crew members," she said, approaching them with undisguised fascination. "I look forward to working closely with you both. Your connection to the ancient civilization could provide unprecedented insights into their culture and technology." As the final day before launch arrived, the atmosphere on the base was electric with anticipation. Michael and Zara, exhausted from their efforts but exhilarated by the prospects ahead, retired to their quarters for a final night's rest. As they lay in the darkness, their bioluminescent patterns began to pulse in perfect synchronization. "Michael," Zara whispered, her voice filled with wonder, "can you feel that?" He nodded, his eyes wide in the dim light. "It's like I can sense the systems of the other planet ships, even from here." Their newfound ability to project a shared consciousness over vast distances was both thrilling and daunting. As they explored this new facet of their evolution, they realized the immense responsibility it placed on them. The day of the launch dawned bright and clear. The core module, now christened the Nexus, stood ready on the launch pad, its sleek form a testament to the combined efforts of human, Shindy, and hybrid technology. The crew, a diverse mix of species and expertise, boarded the vessel with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Michael and Zara took their positions at the newly designed hybrid interface, their bodies glowing softly as they connected with the ship systems. Captain Harper settled into the command chair, his eyes scanning the various stations around him. "All systems check out, Captain," reported the Shindy engineer at the propulsion console. "We're ready for liftoff." Harper nodded, his voice steady as he gave the order. Initiate launch sequence. The Nexus hummed to life, its advanced engines powering up. As the ship began to rise from the launch pad, Michael and Zara suddenly tensed, their faces contorted in concentration. "Captain," Michael called out, his voice strained, "we're detecting an instability in the propulsion system." Alarms blared throughout the ship as the fusion of multiple technologies threatened to become unstable. Michael and Zara worked in perfect unison, their hybrid abilities allowing them to interface directly with the ship's core. "We're stabilizing it," Zara reported, beads of sweat forming on her brow. "But it's causing a power surge." The ship shuddered as energy coursed through its systems. The navigation array flickered and went dark, sending the Nexus veering off its planned course. As the crew scrambled to regain control, a faint signal caught Dr. Liravan's attention. "Captain," she called out, her antennae twitching with excitement. "I'm detecting a signal. It matches the frequency of the ancient hybrid technology." Captain Harper's eyes narrowed as he assessed the situation. With the navigation systems temporarily offline and an unknown signal beckoning, he made a split-second decision. "Alter course," he ordered. "Let's see where this signal leads us." As the Nexus changed direction, heading towards an uncharted region of space, the crew could only wonder what new discoveries and dangers awaited them in the vast unknown. Expanse of space. The Nexus trembled as it followed the mysterious signal, its systems still recovering from the power surge. "Status report," Captain Harper demanded, his eyes fixed on the main view screen. "We're approaching a large structure," Michael reported, his hands moving deftly over the hybrid interface. "It appears to be a space station of some kind." As the Nexus drew closer, the massive station came into view. Its architecture was unlike anything they had ever seen, with sweeping curves and intricate patterns etched into its metallic surface. "Prepare for docking procedures," Harper ordered. "Dr. Vox, you're with the first exploration team. Michael, Zara, we'll need your abilities to interface with any systems we encounter." The Nexus eased into a docking port, its hull shuddering slightly as it made contact. As the airlock cycled, the expedition team assembled, their faces a mix of excitement and apprehension. Michael and Zara led the way, their bodies emitting a soft glow as they stepped onto the station. The corridors were dark and silent, dust floating in the stale air. "The atmosphere is breathable," Dr. Liravan announced, checking her instruments. "But it's been recycling for a very long time." As they moved deeper into the station, systems began to flicker to life around them. Holographic displays sputtered and stabilized, casting an eerie blue light over the team. Dr. Vox's eyes widened as she approached the central terminal. "This is incredible," she breathed, her fingers dancing over the controls. "It's a database of some kind. The amount of information here. It's staggering." While Dr. Vox worked to extract data from the terminal, Captain Harper led a small security team to explore the surrounding areas. They moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing in the empty corridors. "Captain," one of the security officers called out, his voice hushed. "You need to see this." Harper followed the officer's gesture and found himself standing at the entrance of an enormous chamber. Row upon row of stasis pods stretched out before them, disappearing into the shadows. "Most of them look empty," the officer reported, scanning the nearest pods. "But, sir, some of these are still active." Harper's mind raced with the implications. "We need to inform the others," he said, tapping his communicator. "Dr. Liravan, we've found something you need to see." Meanwhile, Michael and Zara had made their way to what appeared to be the station's main control center. As they approached the central console, their bodies began to pulse with energy. "Michael," Zara whispered, her voice filled with awe, "can you feel that?" He nodded, placing his hand on the console. Instantly, a surge of information flooded his mind. The station systems responded to their touch, coming to life after eons of dormancy. A holographic figure flickered into existence before them, its features a blend of human and alien characteristics. "Greetings, children of the stars," the figure intoned. "If you are viewing this message, then our great experiment has borne fruit." The hologram went on to explain the purpose of the hybrid program. detailing how it was designed to create beings capable of surviving cosmic events and exploring the furthest reaches of the universe. As the message concluded, alarms began to blare throughout the station. Michael and Zara's connection to the systems revealed the cause. Their activation of the station had triggered long-dormant security protocols. "Captain," Michael called out over the comm, "we've got a problem. Security drones are being activated throughout the station." Harper's voice crackled back, tense but controlled. "Understood. All teams, fall back to secure positions. Dr. Vox, Dr. Liravan, grab what data you can and prepare to move." As the team scrambled to find shelter, Dr. Liravan made a startling discovery in the station's medical database. "Captain," she reported, her voice filled with excitement despite the chaos. "The hybrid genome. It's designed to continue evolving. Michael and Zara's abilities may be far greater than we realized." The security drones, sleek and menacing, began to patrol the corridors. The expedition team found themselves pinned down in a secure section of the station, the mechanical whir of the drones growing ever closer. In the midst of the crisis, Captain Harper noticed a conspicuous absence. "Where's Ambassador Zelthor?" he demanded, scanning the huddled group. No one had seen the Shindi diplomat since the security systems activated. Harper quickly organized a search party, aware that Zelthor's actions could potentially make their situation even more precarious. Michael and Zara, recognizing the gravity of their situation, made a decision. "Captain," Michael said, his voice strained, "we're going to try to interface directly with the station's AI. If we can override the security protocols, we might be able to shut down the drones." Before Harper could protest, the hybrid couple had already begun the process. Their bodies glowed with an intense light as they connected with the station's core systems. The surrounding technology reacted to their efforts, panels flickering and systems surging with power. The strain on Michael and Zara was evident. Sweat beaded on their foreheads, and their bioluminescent patterns flashed erratically. But slowly, surely, they began to make progress. Suddenly, a massive power surge ripped through the station. The lights flickered, and for a moment, everything went dark. When the emergency systems came back online, a new section of the station had been revealed. "Captain," one of the engineers called out, pointing to a newly opened doorway. "You're going to want to see this." As Harper and the others cautiously entered the revealed area, they found themselves standing in an enormous hangar. Before them stood a fleet of ships unlike anything they had ever seen, sleek, advanced, and clearly designed for long-range exploration. But their awe was short-lived. Alarms began to blare once more, this time with a different tone. Dr. Liravan's eyes widened as she checked her instruments. "Captain," she said, her voice urgent, "the station's orbit is destabilizing. We're being pulled into the gas giant's atmosphere." Harper's mind raced, assessing their options. "Michael, Zara," he called out, "can you access the station's propulsion systems?" The hybrid couple, still connected to the station's core, nodded weakly. Their bodies were visibly strained from the prolonged interface, but they pushed on, reaching out to the ancient gravity generators. As Michael and Zara fought to stabilize the station, long-range sensors picked up multiple incoming ships. The signatures matched both General Steele's Earth fleet and the alien coalition forces. Captain Harper's heart made as he realized the complexity of their situation had just increased tenfold. With the station in peril, ancient technology at stake, and opposing forces closing in, the expedition team found themselves at the center of a potential interstellar incident. As Michael and Zara's efforts began to slow the station's descent, Harper turned to address his crew. The fate of the ancient hybrid legacy, and perhaps the future of human-alien relations, now rested in their hands. With determination in his eyes, he began to outline their next moves, knowing that every second counted in the race to save the station and its priceless knowledge. Secrets and technological marvels. As Harper finished outlining their strategy, a sudden surge of energy rippled through the station, causing the lights to flicker ominously. Michael and Zara, still connected to the station's core systems, let out simultaneous gasps of pain. Their bodies began to glow with an intensity that surpassed anything the crew had witnessed before. Captain Harper rushed to their side, his face etched with concern. "What's happening to them?" he demanded, looking to Dr. Liravan for answers. The Andorian scientist quickly scanned the hybrid couple with her medical tricorder, her antennae twitching with agitation. "Their physiology is changing at an alarming rate," she reported, her voice tight with worry. "The prolonged connection to the station's systems is accelerating their hybridization process." As the team watched in a mix of awe and horror, Michael and Zara's skin began to take on a metallic sheen. Their bioluminescent patterns pulsed with increasing frequency, creating a mesmerizing light show across their bodies. Dr. Liravan sprang into action, her medical training kicking in. "We need to set up a medical bay immediately," she announced, already moving to gather supplies. "I may be able to create a stabilizing agent using the station's medical archives and our own research data." While Dr. Liravan worked feverishly to develop a serum, Captain Harper turned his attention to the more immediate threat. The station's orbit was still decaying, and they needed to act fast. "Michael, Zara," he called out, hoping they could still hear him through their connection with the station. "Can you access the propulsion systems? We need to stabilize our orbit." The hybrid couple's eyes, now glowing with an otherworldly light, focused on Harper. Their voices, when they spoke, seemed to echo with the power of the ancient station itself. "We're trying, Captain," Michael said, his words strained. "The systems are complex, but we're making progress." Zara added, her voice equally tense. "There's a gravitational tether. If we can activate it, it should anchor us in place." As Michael and Zara worked to stabilize the station, Harper directed the rest of the team to salvage what they could. "Dr. Vox, focus on downloading as much data as possible from the central database. Engineering team, I want you to assess those ships we found in the hangar. If we can get even one of them operational, it could give us a significant advantage." The crew moved with purpose, each member acutely aware of the ticking clock. Dr. Vox's fingers flew over the holographic interface as she worked to extract crucial information from the ancient database. The engineering team, led by a seasoned Shindi, carefully examined the sleek vessels in the hidden hangar. Suddenly, a violent tremor shook the station. Alarms blared as new warnings flashed across the holographic displays. "Captain," one of the engineers called out, "long-range sensors are picking up multiple incoming ships. Signatures match both Earth and alien coalition fleets." Harper's mind raced as he assessed their increasingly complex situation. They were trapped on an unstable ancient station, surrounded by advanced technology they barely understood, with two opposing fleets bearing down on them. Just as the situation seemed to be spiraling out of control, Michael and Zara let out a triumphant cry. The station lurched, then steadied as the gravitational tether engaged, anchoring them to a stable point in space. "We've done it, Captain," Zara announced, her voice filled with relief despite the obvious strain on her body. "The station is stable. For now." Harper allowed himself a moment of relief before turning to face the next challenge. "Good work, you two. Dr. Liravan, what's the status on that stabilizing agent?" The Andorian doctor looked up from her makeshift lab, her face a mixture of hope and uncertainty. "I've synthesized a serum based on the station's medical data and our own research. It's untested, but it's the best chance we have to slow down the hybridization process." As Dr. Liravan moved to administer the serum to Michael and Zara, Dr. Vox made a startling discovery in the station's database. "Captain," she called out, her eyes wide with realization, "I found information about a fail-safe protocol. It seems our presence, triggered a security system designed to protect the station from unauthorized access. That's what activated the drones and destabilized our orbit. Harper nodded, pieces of the puzzle falling into place. Can you deactivate it? Dr. Vox's fingers danced across the holographic interface. I'm working on it, but it's complex. It'll take time. Time, Harper knew, was a luxury they didn't have. The incoming fleets would be upon them soon, and they needed to be prepared. As if in response to his thoughts, a new voice cut through the tension. Perhaps I can be of assistance. All heads turned to see Ambassador Zelthor emerge from a hidden section of the station. In his hands, he held an object that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. Harper's eyes narrowed. Ambassador, where have you been? And what is that? Zelthor's expression was unreadable as he held up the artifact. This, Captain, may be the key to controlling the station, and possibly our salvation. Before Harper could respond, the station system surged with new energy. Michael and Zara cried out in unison as their connection to the core intensified. The artifact in Zelthor's hands began to glow brightly, interfacing with the station systems. As the expedition team grappled with this new development, the first ships from General Steele's fleet entered the system. The stage was set for a confrontation that could determine the fate of not just the station, but potentially the entire galaxy. Harper steeled himself for what was to come. With Michael and Zara's evolving abilities, the mysterious artifact, and the advanced technology surrounding them, they held incredible power. But with great power came great responsibility and great danger. As the incoming fleets drew closer, Harper knew that every decision he made from this point on could have far-reaching consequences. As the incoming fleets drew closer, Harper knew that every decision he made from this point on could have far-reaching impact. Suddenly, the station sensors lit up with a new alert. A massive energy signature appeared at the edge of the system, dwarfing even the combined might of General Steele's Earth fleet and the alien coalition forces. Captain, one of the engineers called out, his voice filled with awe and trepidation. You need to see this. Harper rushed to the sensor display, his eyes widening as he took in the readouts. A colossal ship, unlike anything they had ever encountered, was rapidly approaching their position. As the crew watched in stunned silence, Michael and Zara, still connected to the station's core, let out simultaneous gasps. Their bodies began to glow even more intensely, the bioluminescent patterns on their skin pulsing in sync with the energy signature of the approaching vessel. Captain, Michael said, his voice strained but filled with wonder. We can sense them. The ship. Its crew. They're like us. Zara nodded, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. But more advanced. So much more advanced. They're reaching out to us. Telepathically. Harper's mind raced as he processed this new development. Can you communicate with them? Find out who they are and what they want. Michael and Zara closed their eyes, their faces a mask of concentration. The rest of the crew watched in tense silence as the hybrid couple communed with the unknown entities aboard the megaship. After what felt like an eternity, Michael and Zara opened their eyes. Captain, Zara said, her voice filled with emotion. They're us, or rather, what we could become. They're the most advanced generation of human Shindy hybrids, the ultimate result of the ancient civilization's evolutionary program. Before Harper could respond, a new voice filled the station's communication system. Greetings, explorers and inheritors of our legacy. I am HFY, captain of the hybrid vessel Unity. We have been monitoring the rediscovery of our ancient outposts and have come to ensure the safe integration of our advanced technology with your current galactic civilizations. Harper straightened, acutely aware of the weight of this moment. Captain HFY, this is Captain James Harper of the Earth ship Nexus. We welcome you and look forward to peaceful dialogue. As Harper spoke, he noticed the incoming Earth and alien coalition fleets had slowed their approach, no doubt assessing this new development. "We request permission to dock with your station," ZYX-Era continued. "We bring with us the means to stabilize your hybrid companions and to share our knowledge with all parties present." Harper glanced at Michael and Zara, who nodded their agreement. "Permission granted, Captain ZYX-Era. We await your arrival." The next hours were a whirlwind of activity. As the massive hybrid ship docked with the ancient station, Harper coordinated with General Steele and the leaders of the alien coalition, arranging for an unprecedented diplomatic summit aboard the station. When the airlock doors finally opened, Harper and his crew found themselves face to face with beings that seemed to embody the perfect fusion of human and Shindi traits. Led by Captain ZYX-Era, a tall, elegant figure with iridescent skin and eyes that held centuries of wisdom, the advanced hybrid stepped onto the station. ZYX-Era approached Michael and Zara, who stood shakily, their bodies still adjusting to the intense connection with the station's core. With a gentle touch, ZYX-Era activated a device that emitted a soft, pulsing light. Almost immediately, Michael and Zara's erratic bioluminescence stabilized, and their features began to return to a more recognizable human form. "You are the bridge between our past and the galaxy's future," ZYX-Era said, her voice resonating with warmth. "We are here to help you fulfill that destiny." As Michael and Zara marveled at their newfound stability, retaining their enhanced abilities while regaining their human appearance, the political landscape of the galaxy began to shift dramatically around them. General Steele's hologram flickered to life in the station's main chamber, his stern features softening slightly as he took in the scene before him. Queen Mina of Zendoria appeared moments later, her regal bearing a stark contrast to the utilitarian surroundings of the ancient station. "It seems we have much to discuss," General Steele said, his voice gruff but not hostile. "The arrival of our advanced cousins changes everything." Queen Mina nodded, her eyes fixed on ZYX-Era. "Indeed, the knowledge and technology they bring could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. We must proceed with caution and wisdom." As the leaders began their delicate negotiations, Dr. Liravan and Dr. Vox found themselves working alongside the advanced hybrids, poring over the vast stores of knowledge contained within the station's databases. Their eyes lit up with each new discovery, the potential for scientific and medical breakthroughs beyond their wildest dreams. In the midst of this flurry of activity, Ambassador Zelthor approached Captain Harper, the mysterious artifact still clutched in his hands. "Captain," he said, his voice heavy with the weight of his decision, "I believe it's time I relinquish this. My actions were misguided. Perhaps in the right hands, this technology can benefit us all." Harper nodded, recognizing the significance of this gesture. As he accepted the artifact, one of the advanced hybrids stepped forward, her eyes widening in recognition. "This is a key component of our planetary terraforming technology," she explained, carefully taking the artifact from Harper. "With this, we can restore dead worlds, create new homes for species in need." The implications of this revelation sent ripples through the assembled leaders. The potential for ending resource conflicts, for healing the scars left by centuries of war and exploitation, was suddenly within reach. As the negotiations continued, Michael and Zara found themselves at the center of it all. Their unique perspective, combined with their newly stabilized hybrid abilities, made them invaluable in bridging the gaps between the various factions. Captain Harper watched with pride as his crew adapted to the rapidly changing situation, their training and dedication shining through in this moment of galactic importance. He knew that whatever the outcome of these negotiations, the universe as they knew it would never be the same. In the observation deck, Michael and Zara stood hand in hand, their bodies glowing softly with residual hybrid energy. They watched as ships from Earth, Zendoria, and the alien coalition began to work alongside the massive hybrid vessel, the first tentative steps towards a new era of cooperation. It's really happening, Michael said, his voice filled with awe. Everything we've been through, all the challenges we've faced, it was leading to this moment. Zara squeezed his hand, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing in harmony with his. And it's only the beginning, she replied, her eyes fixed on the stars beyond. Our journey is not nearly finished. As they stood there, witnesses to the dawn of a new age, the ancient station hummed with energy and possibility. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges and opportunities in equal measure. But for the first time in centuries, the galaxy stood on the brink of a truly unified future.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.